inquiry into the construction of the Iloilo Convention Center is hereby called to order. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our Senate President, Senator Frank Drilon. Good morning, sir. And the resource persons who are here today. Attorney Jose Fabia, Commission on Audit. Nandito kanina. Okay. From the COA, Director of the Technical Services Office, Mr. Rodolfo Ariesga. Okay. Good morning, sir. From the Department of Public Works and Highways, Secretary Rogelio Singson. Sir, good morning. From the Department of Tourism, Secretary Ramon Jimenez. Good morning, sir. From the Tourism Infrastructure Enterprise Zone Authority, known as TIEZA, Mark Lapid is the Chief Operating Officer, represented by Attorney Hilmarc Acido. Am I correct?
Attorney Hilmarc Acido, sir.
Hilmarc Acido.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Attorney from the Government Procurement Policy Board, or the GPPB, the Executive Director, Attorney Dennis Santiago.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, sir. The former Provincial Administrator of the Province of Iloilo, Mr. Manuel Mejorada. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Your Honor.
From Hilmarc Construction Corporation, Engineer Robert Henson. Are you around?
Good morning po.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. And the Chairman of the Board of Hilmarc Construction Corporation, Mr. Efren Canlas.
Good morning po, Your Honor.
Yes, good morning. Okay, the issues here are the allegations of Mr. Mejorada. There are two issues: one, overpricing; two, plunder. Before we begin, I would like to make just an announcement that Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago has written with regards to the request of Mr. Sihuco, and of course Mr. Sihuco has also written me requesting that they be invited to participate as a resource person in these proceedings. I would like to announce that in the interest of transparency, we are going to invite Mr. Sihuco after we have finished hearing the allegations of Mr. Mejorada. With that, I understand President Senator Frank Drilon would like to make a statement, so we will give him the floor first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for this opportunity to be allowed to make a statement. Mr. Chairman, last November 6, 2014, Mr. Manuel P. Mejorada submitted to this committee a complaint affidavit which he earlier filed with the Office of the Ombudsman, containing allegations without any evidence against me, Secretary Rogelio Singson, Secretary Ramon Jimenez, as well as other officials and employees of the government and some in the private sector. According to the complaint affidavit, we purportedly committed malversation of public funds and plunder when we allegedly conspired, collaborated, cooperated in jacking up the cost of the Iloilo Convention Center. It is disheartening to witness relentless smear campaigns against a forthright project which aims to spur economic activities and generate jobs. It is lamentable to see vile attempts to discredit the good names of Secretary Singson, Secretary Jimenez, a well-known architect, William Coscaluela, and other government officials who, like myself, have nothing else to leave behind as legacy except our reputation. Nevertheless, Mr. Chairman, I welcome this investigation. While ironic, I find that the unfounded allegations of corruption may be a good opportunity for the public to know more about the Iloilo Convention Center and scrutinize every aspect of the project. With your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, please allow me to clarify certain matters to untangle the web of inaccuracies that have been woven regarding the Iloilo Convention Center. Sometime during the second quarter of 2012, the representatives of the Iloilo hotel industry told me that the hotel business in Iloilo has been suffering due to a very low overall occupancy. It was their consensus that a new business and economic center, such as a modern convention center that can play host to key international and domestic events, would be a most welcome project to stimulate economic growth in Western Visayas. There was then a suggestion that the property being developed by Mega World Property Inc. at Barangay Mandurriao, Iloilo City, the site of the old airport, would be an ideal site for a project such as a convention center of international standards. Thus, on July 3, 2012, together with several prominent citizens of Iloilo, I had a meeting with Mr. Andrew Tan, President of Mega World, to discuss the possibility of having a convention center in the Mega World project, in the Mega World complex. Mr. Tan immediately expressed support for the construction of a convention center and committed that Mega World was willing to donate an area in their complex with a proposed design for the project. On November 13, 2012, Mega World donated to the Department of Tourism a parcel of land with an area of 17,371 square meters. Under the deed of donation, the donor specifically required that the donated property be exclusively used for the construction of the Iloilo Convention Center, and further imposed that Mega World's conceptual design be used in the project. Upon acceptance of the terms of the deed of donation, the architectural and engineering design of the project, prepared by W.V. Coscaluela and Associates, was likewise donated to the government. Thus, the government did not spend anything for the land and the architectural services for the Iloilo Convention Center. I would like to underscore that Mega World's choice of the architect is an essential requirement of the donation. And as I have mentioned earlier, the architectural and engineering design was donated to the government. The government did not spend a single centavo for this architectural and engineering design. The Department of Tourism, through TIESA, then entered into a memorandum of agreement with DPWH for the latter to be the lead agency to implement the project. The DPWH, being the lead agency, then prepared all the documentation and requirements for the bidding, award, and eventual implementation of the project. To set the record straight, I had nothing to do with the bidding for the project. I did not participate in the constitution of the Bids and Awards Committee. I did not interfere in any manner with the bidding process, nor did I nominate or appoint the winning bidder. Secretary Singson can attest to that. I did not even know, nor did I have any interest in the identity of the winning bidder until I was informed by DPWH that the contract had already been awarded. Neither did I recommend any supplier or a single worker in the construction of the Iloilo Convention Center. The preparation, the conduct of the bidding, its award, and its implementation was wholly undertaken by the DPWH and the Department of Tourism. I also vehemently deny the accusation that I caused the Iloilo Convention Center project to be overpriced. The ICC project is not overpriced. This is supported by the rigorous process and documentation of the DPWH, as verified and counter-checked by independent processes and documentation of the Department of Tourism, the TIEZA. In fact, let me just highlight that I did not even participate in determining the approved budget for the ICC project, which is properly within the competence and the implementing agency, the DPWH and the DOT in this case. Lastly, I strongly deny the baseless and malicious allegations that I plundered the coffers of government, that I malversed public funds, that I committed graft and corrupt acts in relation to the Iloilo Convention Center project. On the contrary, because of my initiative, the government, through the Department of Tourism, acquired for free through a donation a 17,371 square meter prime property worth at least 521 million for the ICC site. Today, the land, the prices of the land in that area is at least 30,000 per square meter. So, with this acquisition, free through a donation of 17,371 square meter prime property, the government, in fact, became the beneficiary or gained at least 521 million pesos. Reading through the complaint affidavit, Mr. Chairman, my accuser does not even state how I was supposed to have malversed or misused any public fund. All he has are unfounded, irresponsible, if not illogical conclusions. In fact, Mr. Mejorada, in his media statements, admitted that he has no evidence of wrongdoing in this project. In his interview with ANC's Ms. Karen Davila on November 5, 2014, Mr. Mejorada admitted that his allegations and insinuations of alleged kickbacks in the bidding, quote, would be hard to prove, close quote. That he has no evidence and that he has no, quote, access to documents that will show actual plunder, close quote. That is why he wants the Ombudsman to do evidence gathering for him. In his complaint affidavit and media statements, he has taken the liberty of besmirching my reputation for allegedly being involved in an anomalous project simply because the project is allegedly my brainchild. The use of the term brainchild may be imprecise, but I do not deny, and in fact I am proud to be associated with the Iloilo Convention Center project. Mr. Chairman, throughout my career as a public servant, I have served with the highest degree of responsibility, integrity, loyalty, and competence. In my almost 3 decades of public service, I have continuously endeavored to keep my person and my honor unsullied. Pinag-iingatan ko po ang aking pangalan. In the span of 27 years in public service, I was able to spearhead several infrastructure projects, like the hundreds of courtrooms and halls of justice all over the country, which were built when I was Secretary of Justice. 1,600 classrooms in all regions in the country at half the cost of similar structures were funded by my pork barrel in partnership with the Federation of the Filipino-Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The 6.5 billion peso Iloilo International Airport, whose funding I worked on with JICA, and many more. Despite the amounts involved in the construction of these projects, Mr. Chairman, I have never been called by the Ombudsman to respond to any allegation of corruption. I have never been charged in any court in the Sandigan Bayan with the commission of malversation of public funds or any act amounting to graft and corruption. In defense of my name, my honor, and my family, I specifically and categorically deny the baseless, speculative, malicious, wild allegations of Mr. Mejorada. I did not commit any wrongdoing in the construction of the Iloilo Convention Center. At this point, Mr. Chairman, allow me to state that, considering the allegations against me, although malicious and patently baseless, it is to the interest of truth that I will inhibit from this investigation. It means I will not ask any question from any resource person. I will not participate in any committee caucuses in the crafting of the committee report. However, I will make myself available to answer questions after the opening statements of the resource persons are delivered. Wala po kaming tinatago dito at hindi po kami magtatago dito sa investigasyong ginagawa ng Blue Ribbon. Mr. Chairman, let me submit my sworn statement to the committee detailing my knowledge of the project, which I request to be considered and made part of the record of these hearings in aid of the committee's final action. Uulitin ko lang po, wala po akong tinatago, pinagtatakpan, at hindi ko po tatakbuhan ang ganitong hamon. Sa bayanang Pilipino, sundan po ninyo ang investigasyong ito upang mapakinggan ang bawat panig at malaman ang katotohanan sa proyektong ito. Marami pong salamat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senate President Drilon. As well as your opening statement, sir, we would like to have a copy of it. At this point, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel III. Good morning, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, at this stage, I will leave the hearing. I will come back after the statements are made, and I will answer questions from my colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I am submitting the written copy of my sworn statement and my affidavit duly sworn to.
Okay, transfer. Jeric, paki-pasas ko. Hearing suspended for a minute. Hearing resumed. Secretary Jimenez,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
being the owner of the property, who is the owner of the property Yes, yes. Before we start, an administrative matter. May we ask the Secretary to, the Director General to issue the oath?
To all, could you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding? Thank you. You may take your seats.
At this point, we'd also like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Nancy Binay. Good morning, ma'am. Secretary Jimenez, since DOT, is it DOT or TIESA that's the owner of the property?
The property was donated to the DOT.
So you're the
Mr.
owner?
Chairman. Yes, yes. Sir.
Okay, being the owner, could you relate the circumstances, how this, of course, it's been covered by the statement of Senator Drilon, but being the owner of the property, it's better, it comes from you also. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Honorable Committee. Today, November 13th, exactly, marks the second anniversary of a most joyful day in national and local tourism. 2 years, exactly 2 years ago today, Mega World Corporation donated a plot of land in the middle of a rising mixed-use business and tourism development known as the Iloilo Business Park. This land came at the right time and the right place. The right place because Iloilo, the province and the city, is one of the primary development areas identified in the National Tourism Development Plan, or what we call the NTDP. And Iloilo is the home of some of our most captivating cultural and natural attractions. It came at the right time because the growing tourism industry in the country and the region called for newer, better facilities to host important global and regional conferences and exhibitions. Facilities that, up to now, are sorely deficient in this beautiful, fun-loving country of ours. Senator Frank Drilon, together with the most active and activist citizens of Iloilo, had a vision to make Iloilo one of the magnets for conventions in the world, and to prepare it to host one of the most coveted meetings there can be, and that is senior ministers' meetings of the APEC in 2015, which the Philippine Republic is hosting. So it was with great pride that the Department of Tourism and its infrastructure arm, the TIESA, received the land donation in the name of the province, the city, and the country. The occasion was made even more memorable because the vision of a state-of-the-art Iloilo Convention Center, now with a land donation, came with an outstanding architectural and engineering design by W.V. Coscolwela and Associates. Architect Willie Coscolwela himself presented the donated design and even the engineering plans. We at the DOT, through the TIESA, agreed then, as we do now, that the project is a worthy addition to the country's effort to make tourism an engine for growth and inclusiveness. That is why we are proud of our role as the owners of this beautiful property, and together with the people of Iloilo, we look forward to its timely inauguration. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Secretary Jimenez. Mr. Mejorada.
Mr. Chair, I'll just ask for the documents because Secretary Jimenez already mentioned that DOT owns the property. Am I correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Can you please submit to the committee the proof of ownership?
We have already submitted to the committee.
Not the deed of
Your
donation,
Honor.
but the transfer of the property to DOT?
The deed of donation is deemed binding on all parties, Your Honor, and that is the proof of our ownership.
But the
As it
title
stands.
has not yet been transferred to the government.
It has
Okay.
been subdivided. Picture, if you will, Your Honor, that this was a single contiguous property that now had to be subdivided as a result of the donation.
In possession na ho ba yung DOT a title stating
excuse
that
me.
the DOT owns it?
Yeah, is there a title issued, Secretary Jimenez?
No, there is no title issued as
No
yet,
title
Your Honor.
issued. Have you started the process of titling
Yes,
with
we
the LRA?
Yes, we have. In fact, Attorney Asido of the Tiaza can expand on that if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Later, the Attorney Asido can expand on that.
Okay,
Good morning,
later
Your
then, Attorney Asido.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So, Mr. Mejorada, let's get to the essence of the allegations. Two main allegations. One is overpricing and one is plunder. Mr. Mejorada, could you kindly explain why you allege overpricing, sir?
I may be allowed, Mr. Chairman, I have prepared an opening statement that will outline the contents of my testimony before the Blue Ribbon Committee today.
Okay, please proceed, but then we will ask you also to stick to the main issues. But please proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Blue Ribbon Committee, sa buong sambayanang Pilipino, magandang umaga po. Hindi po ko nag-alinlangan na tanggapin ang inyong paanyaya na dumalo ako sa Blue Ribbon Committee at magpatotoo tungkol sa akin pong mga natagpuan na irregularidad sa bidding at award of contract para sa Iloilo Convention Center. Ipapaliwanag ko rin po kung paano ko nasabi na overpriced ang proyektong ito na ipinagawa upang magamit bilang venue ng APEC ministerial meetings sa buwan ng Oktubre at Nobyembre sa susunod na tuig 2015. Hindi po ako napunta rito upang idiin kung sino man sa mga katiwalaan na nadiskubre ko sa aking pagsisiyasat sa loob ng 1 taon at kalahati, lalo na po sa paglabag ng ating Government Procurement Reform Act o Republic Act 9184. Ang layunin po na malaman kung sino-sino ang gumawa ng mga katiliwalian ay doon ko na lang po hahanapin sa ombudsman kung saan po nagsampa na ako ng isang draft complaint. Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Blue Ribbon Committee, I come before you to unravel a complex fraudulent transaction in which Republic Act number 9184 and its revised implementing rules and regulations were transgressed and mocked. I hope to give the Blue Ribbon Committee leads into how the government procurement law is being prostituted to disguise corrupt practices in the procurement and implementation of infrastructure projects. Specifically, I wish to highlight the following. First, and this has already been answered by both Senate President Drilon and Secretary Ramon Jimenez, the procurement of consultancy services of the Argueda and Associates did not undergo a competitive public bidding. Second, in the conduct of the first and second public bidding for the contract, the DPWH Central Office Bids and Awards Committee, or BAC, violated provisions of the IRR for RA 9184, as a result of which the negotiated mode of procurement which was adopted to pick the contractor was null and void. Third, the introduction of value engineering in the negotiated procurement was a misapplication of the concept and violated RA 9184 and its IRR. the implementing agency jeopardized public safety in allowing a design for the project without inputs from a geotechnical soil investigation. There was collusion by and among the principal players in the Department of Tourism and Department of Public Works and Highways to carry out the irregular transaction and award the contract to Hilmarc's Construction Corporation. The contract price of 492 million pesos for Phase 1, Mr. Chairman, is grossly overpriced. The construction of the project commenced without the building owner, the Department of Tourism first obtaining the required environmental compliance certificate from the Environmental Management Bureau. The project construction commenced without a building permit in violation of the National Building Code. Mr. Chairman, the government of the Republic of the Philippines has made commitments to its foreign creditors, notably World Bank, Asian Development Bank, and Japan International Cooperation Agency, to strengthen its procurement system to reduce, if not eliminate, corruption. In the preface to the Country Procurement Assessment Report for 2012, it is acknowledged that, quote, proper public procurement practices directly reflect good governance. Transparent and effective procurement practices minimize expenditure, and I would like to highlight those two words, minimize expenditure and create opportunity. In the same preface, it was pointed out that citizens have the right, quote, citizens have the right to expect their government to spend these funds for the good of the people. In the past, corruption, inefficiency, ignorance, and disorganization have resulted to billions of pesos in losses, unquote. Under Section 3 of the revised implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act 9184, otherwise known as the Government Procurement Reform Act, it states that procurement of the government of the Philippines shall be governed by these principles, among others. Letter D, system of accountability where both the public officials directly and or indirectly involved in the procurement process as well as the implementation of procurement contracts and the private parties that deal with GOP are, when warranted by circumstances, investigated and held liable for their actions relative thereto. E, public monitoring of the procurement process and the implementation of awarded contracts with the end in view of guaranteeing that these contracts are awarded pursuant to the provisions of the Act and this IRR, and that all these contracts are performed strictly according to specifications. What I have done to investigate and publish my findings on the project and the subsequent filing of graft charges are an exercise of these rights and uphold these principles. My investigation into this project as a journalist was triggered by the announcement of the proponent, Senate President Franklin Drilon, during the unveiling ceremonies on November 23, 2012, that it was going to cost 450 million pesos. Subsequently, several articles came out in newspapers and blogs about this project, again stating it is going to cost 450 million pesos. There's a YouTube video of his speech, and it came from his own mouth, Mr. Chairman. The project was going to cost 450 million pesos. In fact, Wikipedia, which is, as we all know, the biggest resource for research nowadays, Mr. Chairman, Wikipedia prominently displays the information that this is a two-story edifice costing 450 million pesos. This quickly appeared on my radar screen as a possible overpriced project, Mr. Chairman. That's because towards the end of April 2012, the Senate President announced that Iloilo City, and he also confirmed this, but the dates may not be exact. In April 2012, he announced that Iloilo City was going to have its own convention center, and he said the price tag would be 300 million pesos at a unit cost of 30,000 pesos per square meter. The Blue Ribbon Committee, Mr. Chairman, has heard testimony time and again that the industry standard for first-class buildings, such as five-star hotels and other office buildings, is 30,000 pesos per square meter. Hence, it came as a shock to me, Mr. Chairman, when a few months later, the price tag rose without any explanation whatsoever. It rose to 700 million pesos. In his speech during the Dinagyang Festival in January this year, the Senate President described this project. Again, the price tag changed. It rose. It went up. He described this project as a 1 billion, as in boy, as a 1 billion peso project that would be the pride of Ilonggos. He said this again in a speech during an investment forum for Iloilo City in Makati City last March this year. He said it's going to cost 1 billion pesos. At no time did the proponent disclose the reason for the upward movement of the project cost from an original estimate of 300 million pesos, adapting or pegging it at the industry standard of 30,000 pesos per square meter, to 450 million pesos, then to 700 million pesos, and then 1 billion pesos. Do we just swallow it like a bitter pill when we know fully well that government procurement reform places emphasis on reducing costs? Mr. Chairman, I have written about the irregularities I discovered in the procurement and implementation of this project since more than a year ago. So this is not a recent thing for me. It cannot be said that I didn't expose what I knew about the anomalous project until now. In fact, Senate President Franklin Drilon filed 4 counts of libel against me for writing about this and other irregularities in the procurement of infrastructure projects in Iloilo before the Pasay City Prosecutor's Office last August 27, 2014. Kaya po, hindi pwedeng sabihin ng kahit kanino man na kumilos lamang ako dahil sa mga pangyayari dito sa mga nakaraang mga linggo. In his libel complaints, the Senate President accused me of fabricating my stories about anomalies in the projects. Hindi na nga po siya gumawa ng paraan upang malaman kung totoo nga ang sinasabi ko, kinasuhan pa niya ako. Instead of investigating whether there was truth to my reporting, he chose to exact retribution in the form of libel charges. Ipapakita ko po ang katotohanan ng mga sumbong ko sa Ombudsman tungkol dito sa Iloilo Convention Center, lalo na po sa pag-violate ng Republic Act 9184. In closing, Mr. Chairman, let me state that this is just the tip of the iceberg. Nalulungkot po akong sabihin sa buong sambayanan na tinuturi naming pugad ng korupsyon ang lungsod ng Iloilo. Daang-daang milyong piso po ang nawawala sa kaban ng bayan dahil sa pandarambong. Nandiyan po ang Pavia Housing Project na matagal na po nasa Ombudsman. Hindi pa po natatapos yung isang portion dyan tungkol po sa culpability ng ilang mga unang respondents. Ang iba po na umakyat na sa Sandigan Bayan pero may natitira po na hindi pa na-resolve ng Ombudsman. Ang Iloilo Diversion Road, na tawag doon po sa Iloilo ay sarili naming Makapagal Boulevard. Ang Esplanade 1 and 2 na funded from the PDAF and the DAP. At yung San Isidro in Haro, Iloilo City relocation site land purchase ang dalawang flyover sa ilalim ng President's Bridges Program at ang Hall of Justice at iba pa. Kasama po sa resolution ni Senadora Miriam Defensor Santiago ang Iloilo City Hall na umabot po sa 810 million ang presyo mula sa orihinal na 350 million pesos nang ipinalabas ang design nito ng arkitekto. It pains me to tell the whole nation that Iloilo City has become the bird's nest of corruption in the country. And it's largely because those behind such corruption enjoy a mantle of protection from the third highest elected official of the land. Lumawak at lumaba po ang korupsyon na ito dahil nakasandal po sila sa pader ng Senado. At nangyari rin po ito dahil sa kahinaan ng Commission on Audit at ng Ombudsman na bigyan pansin at mabilis na aksyon ang mga katiwalian na dinadala sa kanilang kaalaman. This is about accountability and transparency. At stake here is the credibility of our government procurement process and our nation's image before our foreign creditors and partners for development. More importantly, at stake is the confidence of the Filipino people in the way our government handles public funds. Mr. Chairman, I submitted before this committee an original file copy of my complaint affidavit before the Ombudsman and its annexes. I reiterate that its contents are true and accurate. Mr. Chairman, I will also be submitting new documents I obtained after I had filed the draft complaint before the Ombudsman. I am ready to answer questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mejorada. 1 minute suspension.
Sige, ibigay ko doon sa
Okay. Yes. Hearing resumed. Hearing resumed. Secretary Singson, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Mr. Chairman, may I be allowed to give an opening statement before I discuss the project itself, since we are the implementing agency?
Please proceed.
First of all, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I'm very grateful that you are conducting this Blue Ribbon Committee hearing soonest and to give us the opportunity to explain the Iloilo Convention Center project which DPWH is implementing. Mr. Chairman, allow me to put on record that before I accepted my position as DPWH Secretary, I was the President and CEO of Maynilad Water Services and fairly well compensated as a private person. I decided to accept this government position with eyes fully open, knowing the risks and sacrifices that go with the position. My only consolation for accepting the position is knowing that I was going to do what I had to do for love of God and love of country. Mr. Chairman, hindi ko po tinanggap ang pwestong ito para magpayaman, para magnakaw, magpasarap sa buhay o mamulitika. Tinanggap ko po ang hamon at ang malaking sakripisyong ito hindi ho lamang sa akin, kung hindi pati sa aking may bahay at sa aking pamilya. Upang, ulitin ko, makapaglingkod sa Diyos at para makatulong sa bayan. Yun lang po ang aking hangarin. Alam ko po na marami na ho akong nasagasaan. May malalaking negosyante, kontratista, politiko, mga tiwaling kawani at iba pa sa pagbabago ng DPWH. Mr. Chairman, kaya kung ang nag-aakusa sa amin ay mapapatunayan na ako ay nakinabang o kumita ng kahit magkano, kahit 1 piso sa proyektong ito, ako ay nakahandang magbitiw agad sa pwesto. So again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity you're giving us to explain this iconic project for Iloilo, the Visayas, and the whole country. If I may be allowed, I will start the presentation, Your Honor.
Please proceed. Maybe we can have the lights dimmed. Okay.
This slide, Mr. Chairman, shows the perspective of the convention center designed by already, as mentioned, a well-known, distinguished Filipino architect from Iloilo, Architect Willie Coscolluela, who also did the World Trade Center in Manila. Your Honor, as mentioned, the lot is 1.7 hectares, which was donated by Megaworld, and the footprint of the building is 80 meters by 76 meters. Ang total floor area, I would like to make it clear, is a total of 11,693.79 square meters. Can I have the ground floor, please? Ground floor muna tayo. The ground floor has a total area of 6,080 square meters. The second floor, next slide. The second floor has a total area of 3,381 square meters. The mezzanine area, next slide, where the air handling units are, has a total area of 668 square meters. Next slide. And the roof deck has 1,563 square meters. Let me note that the roof deck has been designed to be able to take on an expansion of 2 more floors. Kaya po namin kwenta din yung roof deck na yan. Hindi lang regular na roof deck yan, it is ready to receive an expansion of 2 more floors. So sa makatuwid, going to the next slide, ang total area po niyan is a total of 11,693.79 square meters at hindi lang po 6,000 square meters. Next slide, please. Para may pakita ko yung mga sukat nitong convention center, ang total height po ng convention center is 24 meters. Dahil ho, I will show in later slides that the floor to ceiling ay hindi po regular na katulad ng mga eskwelahan o regular buildings. Makikita nyo rin po dyan na meron tayong tinatawag as designed yung paraw fins. This is the architectural rendition of a typical paraw sailboat. So meron po siyang 8 meters na cantilevered. Ibig sabihin, nakaprotrude, hindi lang ho diretso yan, kung hindi naka-cantilever. Pati po yung kanyang glass canopy na nasa harap. Ito po yung glass canopy. Ang canopy po niyan is also 8 meters. Next slide, please. Ito po, may papakita namin ang height ng ground floor hanggang bottom ng roof deck is a total of 18 meters at kung ground floor hanggang tip ng paraw is 24 meters. Mr. Chairman, ang typical floor height ng isang regular building is only 3 meters. So itong 18 meters, although it is only 4 floors, is the equivalent of 6 floors. Next slide, please. Just to give you the scale, ito po yung sukat at dimensions ng lobby. Ang height po ng lobby, 14.6 meters. Tignan nyo po kung gaano kaliliit lumalabas yung mga tao. So hindi po yan regular floor-to-height ceiling ng mga ordinaryong building. 14 meters po ang taas niyan. Yung mga column dimensions yan, half meter to 0.8 meter ang kapal. Next slide, please. Pasensya na ho kayo at basa nung nakunan nito at finish po yung flooring nung nakunan ng litrato. The main convention hall has a height of 12 meters. Uulitin ko, the regular height of a building is 3 meters. But the convention hall itself has already a height, the equivalent of 3 floors. Ang ating pong column dyan ay 1 meter by 1 meter. Ang mga beams niyan, 20 meters long. Wala pong poste sa gitna ng convention center. So, this cannot be compared to a regular office building. Next slide, please. Ito po ang pinakamababang lugar dyan sa buong convention. The back room offices or the kitchen. 6 meters po ang height niyan. Dahil pwede pang lagyan ng mezzanine or a second floor kung kakailanganin ng additional space. So again, what we've shown you is that this is not a typical floor-to-ceiling height of a building. Next slide, please. This just goes to show you the scale of the convention center in relation to the 2 ongoing hotels. Meron pong ongoing construction ang Richmond at saka Marriott. Ang footprint po niyang convention center ay mas malaki kaysa dun sa footprint ng Marriott at Richmond Hotel. Now, let me go very quickly to the salient features of the Memorandum of Agreement between DOT and DPWH. Ang sinasabi lang ho namin dyan, ang may-ari nung structure is DOT at lahat ng aming kailangan gawin manggagaling sa DOT. Kami lang po ang mag-execute, magpapabid noong proyekto. Gumawa po kami ng program of work at detailed estimates na magmula or nagsisimula dun sa technical drawings at saka structural design na binigay ng arkitekto. At ito nga po, ang nag-arkitekto nito ay si Architect Willie Coscolluela. So we are also supervising and implementing the projects. Mr. Chairman, let me go to what has been alleged as anomalous. I will go straight to the bidding process. Next slide. We conducted the first bidding in accordance with RA 9184 with an approved budget the contract or ABC na 482,489,772 on the basis of our DUPA or yung unit price analysis na ginagawa namin nationwide. Now, this means that on the basis of the working drawings, programs of work, ito po yung lumabas na estimate ng DPWH. Ang budget po nitong first phase, I'm referring here to the first phase, was 500 million pesos. So we conducted the first bidding in June 18, 2013. Meron pong 8 contractors who purchased bid documents, 6 contractors submitted letters of non-participation, and only 2 contractors dropped bids. The principal reason, let's go to the next slide, marami po sa kanila, sabi nila, hindi nila kayang i-execute on the basis of the budget that we are giving for the project. Namumurahan po sila dun sa aming estimated ABC for the scope of work. Dalawa po yung nag-submit ng presyo, WT Construction, 495. Again, this is above ABC dahil ang ABC po namin was only 482 million plus. Meron pong nakapag-submit ng mababa ron, pero we felt or the Bids and Awards Committee disqualified the bidder because they lacked the equipment requirement. Okay. We went to a second public bidding in July of 2013 with the same price of 482. This time, 7 contractors purchased, 3 contractors were found ineligible, 1 contractor submitted letter of non-participation, and 3 contractors dropped bids. Next slide, please. 3 po yung nag-submit. Yung una, RD Policarpio, 481 million, pero nung nag-compute kami, nag-compute ang back, ang kanilang corrected bid is 485, which is above the ABC. JD Legazpi submitted a 475 million bid. Unfortunately, at that time, JD Legazpi had some projects that were already behind schedule by more than 15%, and they also found that the key personnel assigned to the project did not comply with the required experience. AM Oreta submitted 510, which was also not accepted because it was above the ABC of 482 million. As a result of the first 2 public biddings that failed, DPWH proceeded with what is allowed under RA 9184, or the alternative mode of procurement. Under the alternative mode of procurement or negotiated procurement, ang ginawa ho ng DPWH ay nag-imbita, hindi lang po isa, kung hindi 4, who met certain eligibility requirements. Ang inimpose po namin para dun sa mga imbitahin, you have to have a pickup license as large B for buildings, hindi po pangkalye, for buildings. They must be ISO 9000 certified. They must have completed a similar project at least 50% of the ABC, a similar contract with a minimum of 6 stories, or a total floor area of 20,000 square meters, either a hotel, convention center, or a similar project. Next slide, please. Dito sa alternative mode, 4 po yung naimbitahan, DMCI, Hilmarc, EEI, at AM Oreta. 2 lang po yung nag-submit, Hilmarc at DMCI. Yung 2, EEI at AM Oreta, sabi nila, ang explanation is they feel that they were not competitive, again, because our price, they found a little too low for them to complete what was included in the scope. So, ito po mahalaga, dun sa aming negotiated procurement process, we required them to submit a proposal based on the original plan, and we requested them also to submit based on a valued engineering plan. Ibig po sabihin nito, meron po silang pwedeng pag-aralan kung paano may bababa yung proyekto para ma-meet yung aming budget. But they were limited only to the structural aspect. Hindi po nila pwedeng baguhin yung architectural at functional design. Ibig po sabihin, hindi sila pwedeng mag-value engineering at bigla nilang gawing kahon yung convention center na yan. They had to respect the architectural and functionality, kung ilang floors, how many square meters. Ang pwede lang nilang pag-aralan is how they can change or modify the structural design to bring down the cost. Now, having said that, this shows that in the original plan, ang sinubmit ho ng Hilmarc is 608 million compared to 618. Makikita nyo po yan na lagpas pa rin sa aming approved budget na 482. Now, let's go to the next slide which shows yung value engineering. Allowed ho yung value engineering under Republic Act 9184. Kaya lang kulang po sa mga detalya. And this is one aspect that I would really recommend to the committee, that they look at the improvement or modification of RA 9185, particularly in relation to value engineering. Dapat po talaga, big ticket items should undergo value engineering. No? Dahil malaki po ang matitipid ng gobyerno if all big ticket projects are done or gagawan ng value engineering process. No? Unfortunately, in the Procurement Act, there's only one paragraph and there are no clear or prescribed guidelines. No? So dito po, dun sa value engineering, makikita nyo po yung proposal ni DMCI. After the value engineering, 614 million. Lagpas pa rin po sa aming ABC. Hilmarc then came up with a revised budget or revised proposal of 479 million, which is already below our ABC, and therefore we considered that complying. Next slide, please. So yung bid evaluation na sinubmit ng Hilmarc, we had to refer back to the owner, to DOT, and we asked them, tanggap nyo ba tong revisions na ito? And in the case of DOT, they referred them back to the architects who did the original design, so that there is no sacrifice in the structural integrity of the structure. So yung binago ng Hilmarc is in the portion of the foundations. No? At ang tanong ng ang tinignan po apparently ng original architect, sino ba yung gumawa nung revision sa structural design, or who did the value engineering for the structural design. Kasi kung pipitsugin po yung gumawa niya, baka hindi nila tinanggap. But the entity that did the structural revisions or the value engineering is a well-known engineering firm, C-Squared. C-Squared has practically done about 80% or even more of all of the high-rise buildings in Metro Manila. So, as a result of that sign-off from C-Squared, tinanggap po ng arkitekto yung mga revisions. At because of that this was conveyed to us that the value engineered design is acceptable to the owner, so we awarded to Hilmarc on the basis of the value engineered design and revisions. Now, next slide please. Dito po ipapakita namin yung aming approved budget, which is 482, yung original na sinubmit ng Hilmarc, which is 608. So hindi po namin tinanggap yung 608. Ang tinanggap namin yung valued engineer bid of 479 million. So madalit sabi, it was complying because it is lower than our ABC at bumaba yung cost from the original bid of Hilmarc from 608 na ibaba nila ng 479 or a total reduction of 128 million after value engineering. Next slide please. So kung sumahin po natin yung phase 1 with a budget of 492, after we added some additional works from the original contract of 479, it went up to 492, which is still below our budget dahil may mga pinatapos kami, which was very important, so that it is protected and we could proceed we can explain the additional works. Ang lumalabas sa Phase 1 with 492 million over the total floor area of 11,693, lalabas po yung Phase 1 at 42,094 pesos per square meter. So hindi pa rin po yan 102 as some people are saying ang cost ng project 102,000 pesos per square meter. Now, the Phase 2 is to finish the whole convention center. Ang kasama po dito, yung final finishing, toilets, final finishing ng mga pader, and the biggest item would be the electromechanical, air conditioning, elevators, escalators. So our original estimate is about 254 for Phase 2. So sa madalat sabi, kung buo man yan, the total cost of the project could go up to 747,152,648. So lalabas po yan na about 63,893 per square meter. But Your Honor, after we have reviewed the Phase 2, we are confident that we can bring down the cost on a per square meter to closer to instead of 63 to about 53 and possibly a high of 55,000 per square meter. Hindi po kami lalagpas ng 55,000 pesos per square meter sa Iloilo Convention Center without sacrificing structural integrity and the architectural finish. Just for the information of the members of the Blue Ribbon Committee, we would like to show you the original estimate of the architectural firm that designed this building. Next slide, please. Ang original estimate po ni W.V. Coscolwela and Associates and done by a qualified quantity surveyor, Pacific Orient Corporation, 704 million, excluding the pile foundation, as against our estimate of 747 million all-in. Ngayon, pag dinagdag nyo po yung pile foundation, which is about 117 million, lalagpas na po yan sa 821 million as against our estimate of 747. Pero gaya nung sinasabi ko po sa inyo, we will not even reach 747. We will probably end up in the vicinity of 650 million dahil po binibid pa namin yung Phase 2 ng proyekto. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I am open to questions. Where is the corrupt practice? I am as concerned as anyone about transparency, about integrity, and I can assure you, ako walang kinita ni isang kusing o nakinabang dito sa proyekto ito. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Secretary Singson. Please submit the presentation to the committee.
I will, Your Honor.
And at this point, we'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Sonny Trillanes. Good morning, sir. And Senator Sonny Angara. Good morning, sir. Attorney Asido, do you have anything to say with regards to GESA? Do you have an opening statement?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Pimentel.
Why is Mr. Mark Lapid not here? He is the Chief Operating Officer of GESA.
Mr. Asido?
And is he aware of the details of this transaction?
Mr. Chair, our Chief Operating Officer is on official travel to the United States. With respect to my knowledge regarding the project, I am presently the Assistant Chief Operating Officer for our engineering and architectural services. So I am on top of the project as well with respect to this matter,
Okay. Do you have any statement?
Your Honor.
None? Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to make a statement?
Wala po, Your Honor.
Hilmarc? Wala?
Wala
Okay.
po, Your Honor.
Senator Trillanes is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to address my questions to Secretary Singson. Sir, how do you classify this this structure? What category is it? Is it a high-rise office structure?
Your Honor, this is a convention center. It is not a typical office building, and that's why I was emphasizing on the floor to ceiling height, because this is more than a typical office building, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Secretary. I needed to ask that because I'm looking at the same reference manual that we used to evaluate the Makati parking building. And the range here, based on the category, which is a high-rise structure, the range per square meter should be 53,000 to 62,000 pesos per square meter. Are you using the same reference manual?
No, Your Honor, we have our own unit cost, and we are in that range, Your Honor. As I mentioned, based on our estimates as submitted, it was about 63,000, but we think we can still bring it down to 53 to 55,000 per square meter, Your Honor.
Okay. Because we found this reference manual really handy. And in fact, that's what we are recommending to the committee chairman, the Blue Ribbon Committee, that all the procuring agencies, to include the DPWH, to use this, or if you have a similar handbook, reference manual, you can give it to the different procuring agencies as well, to include the LGUs, because these may be handy in coming up with the agency estimates, and also for COA, so that they can use it as a reference for their auditing, the post-auditing, Mr. Secretary.
Yes, Your Honor, we have our own estimates, and we break it down by region. This one shows you a national average. We're in fact trying to bring it down to regional estimates, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, my next question is, how come there are now two phases? Can you explain to the committee, the first one, is supposed to have a single phase project with the cost of 482, but what was the second phase for?
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, we work on this. Would be one of our recommendations for amendments to the procurement law, because we go on phases based on the amount of budget released to us. So kung ang natanggap po namin only good for 500 million, but as I mentioned, the original estimate is for 745 million, we can only bid out phase 1 based on this SARO. So I think it might be an opportune time to really strongly suggest that we amend that portion of the Procurement Act. Kasi po, yung phase 2, halimbawa, and this applies also to bridges, yung tinatawag nating multi-year projects and multi-funded or multi-year funding. So halimbawa, tulay, ang budget mo phase 1 lang, kalahati or 1/3, yung susunod na release 1/3, 1/3. at the end of the project, sino po ang may responsibilidad ng structural integrity? Yung nauna ba o yung nahuli? No? So napakalaki yung problema niyan. So we're really strongly suggesting an amendment. No? We should adopt a multi-year project but bid it out as one project, even if they are funded over a period of 2 or 3 years, Your Honor.
Okay, we will take note of that, Mr. Secretary. Pero itong second phase, in other words, hindi na ito na-bid out.
The bid, actually, we went to the first bidding, failed bidding because they found our prices too low. Ang kasama po dyan sa phase 2 would be a big chunk will go to air handling units, yung air conditioning, elevators, escalator, and some civil works, yung mga partitioning.
But was this bidded out, Mr. Secretary?
The bidding is ongoing. The first bidding for the phase 2, we already had a failed bidding. We're now we went to re-advertise on the second bidding of phase 2.
So, yung Hilmarc ba ay participant din doon? Hindi na?
I understand they did not participate in the first bidding.
The second.
Hindi po, Your Honor. Medyo mababa po yung presyo, Your Honor.
So, ito kasi yung kuha natin nung na-observe natin during itong sa Makati Parking Building. Yung first phase lang ang binibid nila. Then, yung subsequent phases, practically binibigay na dun sa nanalo, dun sa first phase. So, doon kami nakakakita ng red flag. So, dito, in this case, binibid out nyo pa rin yung second phase.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That's all.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
For the record, can I just correct Senator Trillanes na it's not the Makati Parking Building, it's the Makati City Building 2.
Okay. Duly noted. Before we go to the other senators who want to ask questions.
Mr. Chairman, we also have a basis to say it as Makati Parking Building because in all the bidding documents, it's stated there as so. But let's not fight over the name.
Yes, let's not
for
put
as
that
long
issue
as
here.
overpriced siya ng more than $1 billion, I think okay tayo dun.
Let's stick to the issues here. Please, let's stick to the issues here. Let's not get diverted. Stick to the issues. Tuesday pa daw yung hearing nila. Okay. Mr. Singson, what again for the record, please, sir, before the next senators, I just would like to ask, what was the reason for the splitting of the contract?
We could only bid on the basis of what budget we received.
Yes, because the SARO stated 500 million, so you cannot bid out more than what the SARO will
That's
allow
correct,
you to
Your
disperse.
Honor. That's correct, Your Honor.
That's clear enough. And Mr. Denny Santiago, you represent the Government Procurement, what do you call that? GPPB?
Yes,
Policy
Procurement
Board.
Policy Board.
Yes, sir.
Technical Support Office, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. For the record, sir, you are in charge principally of the interpretation of and enforcement of the RA 9184. Is splitting of contracts legal, sir?
Splitting of contracts, Your Honor, is not allowed under the law and the rules, Your Honor. Even under COA guidelines, Your Honor. But phasing of a contract is allowed, Your Honor.
So there's a difference between phasing and splitting.
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you please explain then the difference?
In phasing, Your Honor, there's, for example, for civil works contract, like as mentioned earlier, it depends on the budget availability. So if this is the budget available or the design available at this point, so they will have to phase this in accordance with that budget or in accordance with that design. But for purposes of artificial or splitting of contracts, there will be artificial phasing, or they chop, or procuring entities would chop a project in order not to reach a certain approval level, or in order for them not to bid it out. Say, for example, they want to do shopping, they will, cut the project into, say, 500,000 pesos and below, so in order for them to obviate from a public bidding, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I think that's clear enough. At this
Chair?
point,
Siguro, just one point. At what amount ho dapat hindi nagsisplitting?
Your Honor, as a matter of fact, we should not split the contracts. No?
I mean, yung kasi di ba sir, parang may artificial facing
Aha.
yung ginagawa ko, di ba? So may cap ho ba yun para hindi siya matawag na splitting?
Your Honor,
For
you'll
example, nasa guidelines ho ba niya na kunyari, pag 500,000 and above, kailangan may bidding na as one project?
Your Honor, as a matter of fact, under the law, the primary mode of procurement is competitive bidding. It doesn't say whether it's 1 peso or 1 billion. The primary mode of procurement is competitive bidding. Now, but there are parameters for purposes of efficiency and economy that the law itself recognizes alternative modalities of procurement. Say a negotiated procurement, limited source bidding, shopping, repeat order, direct contracting.
And wala hong limit dun sa amount na yun for that alternative mode?
For shopping, Your Honor, the limitation is until 500,000 pesos. For small value procurement, Your Honor, is 500,000 pesos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
But you can still bid, Your Honor, even if it is 400,000 pesos.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Angara.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, my colleagues from the House and from the Cabinet. Magandang umaga po sa ating mga bisita. Nabanggit po yung value engineering. Hindi ko po kabisado masyado itong phase, and I did some research. I only see it in the annexes ho, sa implementing rules, Secretary Singson, Mr. Chair. Can you explain in a layman's non-technical language po, Mr. Chair, Secretary?
Let me explain it in this particular situation. So yung arkitekto po nag-submit ng detailed engineering design and structural design. Since hindi po after 2 failed biddings nakikita namin na hindi nila maabot yung budget, no, na gusto ng gobyerno, we decided to ask for value engineered. Kung sabihin nyo na you can go to a redesign, no, of the original structure. Pero we limited what they could evaluate or what they could change dun sa structural, no? Hindi po nila pwedeng baguhin bigla, no? O halimbawa, yung nakikita nyong paraw, pag sinabi mong open value engineering, pwede mong baguhin kahit ano, baka naging kahon yan, no? Na iba na yung itsura, naging civic center, no? Hindi po ganon ang pinayagan. Ang pinayagan lang is limited to a certain portion of the whole building. Yung paraw was maintained, the size of the building was maintained, the floor-to-height ceilings maintained. Ang pinaaral lang yung structural, yung foundation in particular. No?
Mr. Chair, yung purpose po o yung layunin po ng value engineering, pababain po yung gastos ng gobyerno. Laging ganon. Walang value engineering na papalakihin ang...
Well, the intention of value engineering, Your Honor, is really to try to bring it down.
Sa karanasan niyo po bilang sekretarya, lagi pong bumababa ang presyo pagka merong value engineering.
Yes, Your Honor. Let me explain again on this particular... the explanation here...
Well, don't limit yourself, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Secretary, to this particular because this is an inquiry in aid of legislation. So, we'd
Kasi
like to know also the application in the general
Mas
case.
madali ho kasi na nandito na. No?
Yes, I understand.
So, but I will explain in other situations. The value engineering done here, yung ginamit ng halimbawa, ng original architect was a very conservative structural engineer. No? Yung ginamit ng Hilmarc is an aggressive, structural engineer. Pero pareho silang tama. No? So, ibig sabihin, yung original, napakaraming pilote, no? Yung Hilmarc, yung ginamit ng Hilmarc is, let's say, bagong teknolohiya, no? Achieving the same structural integrity, nagbawas sila ng mga pilote, nag-add sila ng mga konting shear wall, kinapalan ng konti yung mga ibang columns. So bumaba yung cost ng simento, bumaba yung cost ng bakal, no? That's how they were able to save. And that's how they were able to meet our price. Ganon din po sa tulay, no? Hindi ho naman kami ang nakakaintindi lang o may alam lang sa disenyo ng tulay. For example, when we were designing the retrofitting of Ayala Bridge, ang aming designer, department, we says, kailangang gibain yan tulay na yan. No? Hindi po ako kumagat doon sa kailangang gibain. We went shopping. We went to look at other options other than demolishing the bridge. So that's a process of value engineering. And we found a solution at half the cost na hindi mo kailangan isara. Yun po ang nangyayari sa tulay ngayon dyan sa Ayala Bridge. So, yun po ang intention. That's why I'm strongly suggesting that for big-ticket items in government, we should adapt and come up with clear guidelines on how to use value engineering.
Ang tanong ko po is, paano ba nalalaman kung overpriced ang isang gusali o isang struktura, sapagkat ang pinag-uusapan dito hindi naman produkto na nabibili po sa isang department store, kasi pagka iPad ang pinag-uusapan o kaya cellphone, alam natin, pwede natin ikumpara. Pero dito naman ho, paano natin malalaman? May guidelines ho ba tayo? May Biblia ho ba?
The only way, Your Honor, that you can know is if you get the actual detailed plans. No? Doon po kayo mag-uumpisa. At i-estimatein nyo yung volume, what they call bill of quantities. Gaano karaming simento, gaano karaming bakal, ano yung mga finishes, at iisa-isahin ho ninyo yan at i-compute. There is no, yung mga estimates are mere estimates until you actually go into the actual bill of quantities based on the plans. That's the only way.
Ang sabi po ng ating chairman, Senator Gingoana, na ang issue dito overpricing at saka korupsyon. So dito sa issue ng overpricing, ang sagot niyo dyan dun sa sinabi ni Mr. Mejorada na may overpricing dito?
Ang pinagbabasihan nila na sabihing overprice ay yung floor area ang ginamit. No?
Hindi lang floor area, kasi may unit price na pinag-uusapan, yung 30,000, dahil sinabi na nga na parang ito yung presyo sa ibang do you agree with that?
Definitely you cannot compare this building to a 30,000 building. Gaya nga nung paulit-ulit kong sinasabi, yung floor to ceiling nito is not a regular floor to ceiling of a building. A regular building has a floor to ceiling of about 3 meters, 3.2. No? But in this case, pinakita ko yung lobby nito 14 meters. Yung regular kitchen or yung back room na sinasabi nila is already 6 meters. So, the equivalent of 2 floors. No? So, in other words, you cannot compare.
Ang apples and oranges yan, yung sinasabi
Definitely,
niya.
Your Honor.
Hindi magkaparehas yung...
Now, they arrived, I've heard some critics saying this cost 102,000 per square meter because the divisor that they were using was 6,000 square meters. And I have shown you that this is not only 6,000 square meters, but 11,000 plus square meters.
Ito po dumaan sa negotiated procurement. Alam po natin sa ilalim po ng batas, that is a alternative. Kumbaga, ang nakasaad po sa batas, ang general rule dapat competitive bidding ho, no? So meron ho bang safeguards ginawa ang DPWH para maprotektahan po yung interest ng publiko dito sa pagbid nitong convention?
Yes, Your Honor, we went through 2 rounds of competitive bidding as prescribed under 9184.
Hindi, when you underwent the actual negotiated bidding, kasi meron mga kailangan na nakabanggit po sa batas sa 9184 sa government procurement na dapat gawin. Did the department strictly follow these
We
rules?
did, Your Honor. After 2 failed biddings under R9184, you're allowed to go through an alternative mode. Normally, you're allowed, in fact, even to just call in one of your bidders and negotiate one-on-one. We did not even do that. In my practice, as head of the department, I don't allow one-on-one negotiations. I always ask them to call in your best contractors. If you are going to negotiate the good performers, ask them to submit. Hindi lang yung one-on-one.
Bakit yung 4 ang pinili nyo na mag-negotiate?
They were interested. They already got documents they already bought documents. EEI, DMCI, AM Oreta, and Hilmarc. So, as I said, there were preconditions kung sino lang yung pwedeng sumali. You may license to have done a similar structure, yung ISO certified. Mr. Chairman, let's not take that for granted. The ISO certification is a very important component in the industry. Kung makikita nyo po yung trabaho ng ISO certified versus a non-ISO certified, napakalayo po niyan. No? The procedures, yung bugbog kami, look at the difference between an ISO certified working on Osmeña and Quirino as against a non-ISO certified that is working in the rest of Metro Manila. Ang kalat-kalat po niyan, ibang-iba po yung quality ng trabaho.
Ilan po yung proyekto ng DPWH na dumadaan po sa value engineering? Ilan rin po ang binibigay po sa ISO certified bidder? Sa porsyento, rough percentages lang.
Mr. Chairman, we are working towards an ISO certification for all our contractors. Unfortunately, pag ginawa po namin ngayon yon, wala po kaming matatapos na siguro 50% ng aming dapat gawin. Dahil konti lang ang contractors na makaka-qualify kung i-impose namin ang ISO. And also in fairness to them, DPWH itself is also working for its own ISO certification. So how can we impose on our contractors when the agency itself is not even ISO certified? No? So we are working on our own ISO, and after we've done that, then we can say, pag ganito yung cost ng project, puros ISO certified lang ang pwedeng mag-participate riyan. So that's our next move, Your Honor.
Dun sa value engineering ho, kasi mukhang pabor kayo sa value engineering. So ang recommendation nyo ho is going forward, lahat po ng proyekto ng departamento.
Lahat ng major ticket items.
Magkakaroon.
I would imagine 500 million and above would be worth going through a value engineering process.
Pero may dagdag na gastos din yon.
Wala po.
Walang dagdag gastos.
Hahaba lang ho yung proseso.
By how much ho? By
another round of maybe 60 days because you will now require the bidder to bid based on the original and a valued engineering design.
Bakit hindi tumataas ang presyo? Kasi you're asking for an additional service, hindi ho ba? When you're procuring an additional service. Di ba?
Well, in this case, the cost...
It's okay sa akin. Okay lang naman gumastos ang gobyerno kung makakatipid siya in the long run. Pero hindi, I just want to know kung talagang, hindi ba tumataas yan? Parang it's like getting a project manager. If you're building kung gagawa ka ng bahay ho, kukuha ng project manager.
Tataas po ng konti dun sa services. Pero bababawi po yan dun sa mga ibang scope. No? Sa kabuuan, bababa po
sa
yan.
long run, mas makakatipid ang gobyerno. Pero in the short run ho, sa project cost, tataas po.
Not only in the cost, we can also save in time in terms of time implementation. No?
Okay, doon naman ho sa aspeto po ng corruption. At any time ho ba may official po ng Iloilo na kumausap sa inyo o ng Senado o government official na gusto nila ibigay ang proyekto dito sa ganitong bidder o kaya palubohin yung amount ng proyekto para yung kita ng contractor, for example, lumaki?
wala hong nakialam na opisyal dito at alam po ng mga politiko na hindi po ako pumapayag na subukan nilang kumbinsin ako na to give to certain favored contractors. I go against that precisely.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll ask the same question to Secretary Jimenez of Tourism and also to Attorney Asido of the TIEZA. Meron bang kumausap sa inyo na galing sa probinsya o sa national or local officials?
No, Your Honor.
Na ininfluensahan kayo na...
We have no knowledge of that. In fact, we affirm, based on the presentation and testimony today, that there was a very careful evaluation of every bid and every part of the process.
TIEZA?
We also affirm the statements made by our Secretary and Chairperson of the Board, Your Honors. We do not have any knowledge of any participation of any public official in the so-called corruption of this bidding. This process underwent a very diligent process, Your Honors.
Mr. Chairman, if I may throw some questions to Mr. Mejorada. Sir, good morning. Ano ho yung response ninyo dito sa sinasabi ng departamento regarding your allegations of overprice? Ang sabi nila, wala daw overprice kasi ang pinag-uusapan, ibang klaseng struktura. How do you respond to that?
Maraming salamat po, Senator Angara, Mr. Chairman. I will respond to the question in this way, Mr. Chairman, because sinasabi nila, the contract underwent a rigorous and diligent process following the provisions of the revised implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act 9184. I am sorry to say, Mr. Chairman, na hindi po totoo yun. Because Section 35.2 of the IRR states that in order to, after the failed bidding in the first bid, in order to determine the reason for the failed bidding, the BAC shall conduct a mandatory review and evaluation of the terms, conditions, and specifications in the bidding documents, including the cost estimates. Sa first bidding po, kitang-kita po ang taas-taas ng mga bid. Napakalaki po. More than 100 million pesos po yung diferensya. Eh, hindi ba sila nagtaka? Oh, ano nangyari dito? At Mr. Chairman, balikan ko muna bago ko pagpatuloy. May mga nakita po akong mga questionableng nangyari mula sa invitation to bid, sa first bidding at sa second bidding. Ito po ay galing po sa DPWH. This is certified and checked with the original. Ito po yung kanilang copy ng invitation to bid for the first bid. The invitation under RA 9184 and its IRR, and perhaps Attorney Santiago can confirm that. Sinasabi po doon na dapat ang invitation to bid should contain a brief description of the project with major scopes of work. And nakalagay po dito, number 2, the DPWH now invites bids for the construction of Iloilo Convention Center, Phase 1, Mandurriao, Iloilo City. Completion of works required is 300 calendar days. Nothing is mentioned, Mr. Chairman, about what the project is, what are the scopes of work, what will be done. So, kung tignan nyo lang po ito, blind po ang mga contractors. And perhaps, hindi ko lang masabi kung bakit, akala nila mas malaking project yung binibid. Kaya po yung bidding ang sinabit ilang offer, mga nasa 608 million po. So anyway, Mr. Chairman, that this is validated also by the publication in the Manila Standard today on May 25, 2013. Wala rin pong description in violation of Republic Act 9184. Now, Mr. Chairman, 35.3 states, based on its findings That means after the review, the mandatory review, I emphasize the word mandatory, which I think will describe the rigorous and diligent procedures that they're talking about. But they did not. So 35.3, based on its findings, the BAC shall revise the terms, conditions, and specifications, and if necessary, adjust the ABC subject to the required approvals and conduct a rebidding with re-advertisement and or posting as provided for in section 21.2 of this IRR. The same thing happened in the second bidding, Mr. Chairman. There was no compliance with section 35.2 and section 35.3. I would like to reply to how they describe value engineering. Hindi po totoo, Mr. Chairman, na walang sinasabi ang batas, lalo na po sa implementing rules, revised implementing rules and regulations ng RA 9184. Dahil po yung value engineering ay nandun po under the section for detailed engineering as a pre-procurement activity. Ang ibig sabihin po, bago magpabid ang isang ahensya ng gobyerno, kailangan po dumaan na ito sa isang masusing pasensya na po, kinukulang ako ng Tagalog. It has to undergo through a rigid and rigorous study and evaluation to determine to arrive at the approved budget for the contract. So, Mr. Chairman, they said that the Coscolluela already placed the estimate to complete the project at 704 million pesos minus the pilings. And they said that their own study was that 482 million pesos was going to be sufficient to construct and complete phase 1 of this project. Yung detail engineering po dapat ginawa na po mula sa umpisa. Mula po sa umpisa. Bago pa po na advertise ito, bago pa po na ilagay, na set yung approved budget for the contract, there should have already been approved budget for the value engineering. So hindi po ginawa. At maliwan po doon, Mr. Chairman, if I may just finish this. Part of the detailed engineering studies, which is required under Annex A of the revised implementing rules and regulations, sinasabi rin po dapat kasama doon yung geotechnical site investigation. Para po siyempre, kailangan po malaman kung ano yung kondisyon ng lupa, kung ano po yung kailangan isama sa design ng building. Hindi po nila ginawa yan. In fact, I have proof to show, Mr. Chairman, that the DPWH Region 6 advertised, I don't know if the bidding went through, but they advertised for this consultancy services for geotechnical soil investigation in August 2013. August 2013, after the first bidding had already commenced, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so, Mr. Mejorada, you're saying that the value engineering clause should have been there in the first bidding already. Am I correct?
No, Mr. Chairman, it should have been done because it is not a clause. The only...
It should have been done.
It should have been done because this is an activity specified under Annex A.
So what you're saying now, it should have been done and it was not done.
It was not done.
In the first bidding, it was not done. In the second bidding, it was not done. And only it was done in the negotiated bid, correct? That's what you're saying.
It was introduced in the negotiated bid,
yes,
Mr. Chairman, illegally.
Okay. And your second issue was that there was no soil analysis done. Secretary Singson, would you care to respond, sir?
Mr. Mejorada, hindi ako sinungaling.
Please, sir, Mr. Secretary Singson, let's not address each other directly. Please address everything to the chair.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Thank you.
The details of the drawing structural design came from the firm of architect Coscolluela. No? As I was explaining earlier, they use a different structural engineer when they prepared and submitted to DOT, who then submitted it to us, and then we prepared an estimate on the basis of those drawings. No? So, as I was explaining, depende ngayon kung sino yung gagamitin mong structural designer ng building. There can be a very conservative structural engineer which was apparently used by Coscolluela in the original design. Ang ginawa ng Hilmarc dun sa value engineering na hiningi namin sa kanila, they use a fairly aggressive pero well-known and accepted structural engineer din. No? So, no structural integrity issue. Ang ginawa po ng DPWH was we did not accept what Hilmarc submitted. In fact, yun sinasabi ni Attorney, we did a confirmatory soil test para tignan namin kung pwede nga tanggapin yung engineered design. So, we did a confirmatory soil test. We did not rely on what was submitted to us. We did a confirmatory, ang tawag nila doon, para makatiyak kami na pwede nga yung sinasuggest ng Hilmarc na baguhin yung pundasyon.
Mr. Chairman, just a few more questions with the indulgence of my colleagues. Siguro kasama na natin si Commissioner Fabia dito sa usapin, no? Assuming totoo po yung sinabi ni Mr. Mejorada, although wala pa tayong finding doon, anong resulta dito sa proyekto? Will it, kasi nasa advanced stage na tayo ng construction, patapos na yung proyekto eh. Let's say hindi nagawa yung sinasabi niyang dapat gawin, yung soil test, etc. Would that invalidate the project, Commissioner, Mr. Chair?
Your Honor, I would like to state for the record that this is undergoing an auditorial and a review process in the Commission on Audit. Any statement that I will make at the moment will prejudge, will not be fair to those who are doing the evaluation at this time.
Eh di gawin na lang natin in the abstract ho. Kung meron hong hindi nasunod sa batas, anong mangyayari doon sa proyekto kung nagawa na yung proyekto?
Your Honor, just the same, I will have the same kind of answer, Your Honor. I will not dwell on something that is in the realm of...
cannot change the fact that nandun na yung gusali, di ba? Tapos kailangan pakinabangan yun, di ba? So, siguro ang resulta nun, merong notices of disallowance. Yun ang worst. What is the worst case scenario, Mr. Chair? Notices of disallowance, kakasuhan, di ba? You will... Because the COA is not a prosecutorial body. You will just recommend prosecution, tama ho ba?
The worst case scenario is that it will be disallowed in audit. And if there are indications of fraud along the way, then in the conduct of the bidding or in any, we can then send the report to the Ombudsman. But we are not the ones who will have to do that because we don't have the power to prosecute, but only to gather the evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Doon na lang ho sa huling question ko kay sa ating bisita, especially kay Mr. Mejorada. Conspiracy ho ba yung theory nyo dito, sir? You're saying that most of our guests here, the Senate President, the two secretaries, the TIEZA head, nag-conspire ho sila para i-overprice itong proyekto.
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, may I request my lawyer to assist me to show the documents that I have?
Hindi. Ano lang. It's a yes or no question.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Are you're alleging conspiracy?
Yes, Your Honor.
Parang pinag-usapan nila, pinagplanuhan nila.
Yes, Your Honor.
Na ma-overprice ito.
In fact, Your Honor, in my complaint before the Ombudsman, I said that there's a hidden or an unseen hand behind all this.
Opo. At sa tingin niyo ho, may kumita ho rito?
Well, Your Honor, based on what they said today, that the cost would be something like 63,000, kahit na po we do not follow the 30,000 pesos per square meter. We give adjustment to the tall floor to ceiling heights. Siguro naman po hindi abot ng 40,000 if we make adjustments for that, Your Honor. So may kikita po.
Sa tingin nyo, sino ho ang kumita rito?
Hindi ko po malaman ngayon.
Hindi nyo po alam sino ang kumita?
Hindi ko po alam.
So,
Basta alam ko po may kumita dito.
Opo.
So this is an issue of accountability, Your Honor. Sino po, kung alam natin may kumita, pabayaan na lang po natin na hindi natin may establish.
Kung ang kumita ho yung inawardan po ng bid, dapat ho ba siyang managot?
Dapat. Dapat po. If it can be established, Your Honor, that the contract was grossly disadvantageous to the government, then all the officials involved in this project, including the private party.
Pero di ba sir, sa isang kontrata, kaya nagbibid ho ang isang negosyante dahil para kumita. So sa tingin nyo, ano po yung acceptable level dapat na kita dito? Kasi may allowable rate of profit, otherwise walang magbibid. Walang magbibid ho dyan.
Pagkaalam ko po, no, because dati rin akong provincial administrator, nasa 20% po yung profit.
So kung kumita ng 20% ang contractor, sa tingin nyo
reasonable yun.
Reasonable. Anything over that ho is...
yes, Your Honor.
So sa tingin nyo ho, magkano dapat ang kinita dito? Ang kita dito sa pinag-uusapang proyekto?
Hindi ko po na-compute yan, Your Honor. But I can submit a position paper on that point.
So, sa tingin nyo, anong involvement ho ni Senate President dito? At saka ano yung basehan nyo dun sa pagsabi na siya yung unseen hand dito ho?
May I ask my lawyer to assist me with
in brief lang ho, kahit wag na yung detalyado ho, kahit mamaya na lang ho.
So, ang nangyari po dito, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, ay may mga paper trail po tayo. Katulad po ng sulat ni Secretary Jimenez kay Secretary Singson dated August 28, 2013. Kung saan po sinabi niya doon sa kanyang liham, sa kanyang letter, na he received information that there was a failure in the second bidding and that he was now recommending the adoption of value engineering to hasten the procurement process because this project was being rushed for the APEC ministerial meeting in 2015, Your Honor. Why did I say that there is an unseen hand? Sinabi na po August 28 ni Secretary Jimenez, failure of bidding. Yung resolution po ng BAC for the second failure of bidding was dated September 4, 2013. Paano niya po nalaman na may failure of bidding? Ikalawa po, sino po ang nagsabi sa kanya? Who recommended to him to suggest, to recommend value engineering? Pagkaalam ko po kasi, ang proseso po ganito Pag failure of bidding, yung DPWH should communicate officially with the Department of Tourism. Mr. Secretary, we have had 2 biddings. The project cost is too low, or the ABC is too low based on the designs that you submitted to us. So ano pong gusto ninyong gawin dahil po kayo may-ari? So siguro po doon pa lang nangyari yung sasabihin niya na, sige, subukan natin yung value engineering. And still the same, Mr. Chairman, I assert that value engineering in the negotiated procurement is illegal. Because there is a provision in the Philippine bidding documents where value, the mention, and which is what they used, I think number 14, alternative bids in the Philippine bidding documents. Sinasabi po dito, alternative bids, ito po, very direct, shall be rejected. So nangyari po kasi alternative bid yung nangyari dito sa pangalawang set of envelopes na sinubmit ng Hilmarc sa negotiated procurement. So nandito po ang section 14.2. Bidders shall submit offers that comply with the requirements of the bidding documents, including the basic technical design as indicated in the drawings and specifications. Unless there is a value engineering clause in the BDS, which stands for bids data sheet, alternative bids shall not be accepted. Ano po ito? Ito po ay, this has relation to build and design contracts, Your Honor. This does not apply to straight infrastructure contracts, Your Honor. Because, as I pointed out earlier, value engineering is a pre-procurement activity. Doon pa lang po naghanap na sila ng paraan para mapababa yung presyo ng project. At bakit po binigay sa Hilmarc? Kasi po binigay nila sa DOT. Wala naman pong capability ang DOT. To say that yung sinabi ng Hilmarc, wasto. Sino po ang nag-evaluate? Yung W. Coscolluela? Or is government now abdicating its responsibilities, its duties under Republic Act 9184?
Mr. Mejorada, maybe we should let, your first allegation was before the BAC issued a resolution stating that there was a failure of a second failed bid. Secretary Jimenez came out with a letter stating that he was in favor or was informed about. So, Secretary Jimenez, would you care to respond, please?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors. For the record, I wish I had a crystal ball. Obviously, Philippine tourism would be much more successful than it is now. But the fact of the matter is, this is what I tell my staff every day. Do not read letters starting with just the date in the corner of the page, because you are bound to miss the guts of it. In the presentation of the Secretary of the DPWH, it was established that it was the responsibility of the DPWH to inform the owner, and that is the DOT, on a regular monthly basis. The regular monthly report was rendered on August 27th, during which we were informed by the DPWH, and it's in the minutes of the meeting, of the failure of the second bidding. The DPWH cannot offer value engineering without our consent. Hence, the letter announcing two things, not one, of September 4 actually was rendered. It announced the failure of the bidding and the recommendation, which had been discussed in the meeting, to go into value engineering. It's a simple matter if you take malice out of the picture of proper dates, minutes, and permissions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Secretary
Mr. Chair,
Angara.
as you mentioned, there were a number of points made by Mr. Mejorada. Kasama na ho doon yung statement niya na value engineering in a negotiated procurement is illegal. Can we throw that to the body and ask them if that's a correct statement?
Maybe the GPPP.
Maybe kay Attorney Santiago o kaya kay
Attorney Santiago
as a general statement. Tama ho ba 'yan?
Yes, Your Honor. In the Annex A of the rules, there's that value engineering paragraph, Your Honor, that this should be done during the detailed engineering and design investigation. They can include the value engineering.
That says that it can be done, but is there something that says it cannot be done in negotiated procurement?
There's none, Your Honor.
So by implication lang yung
yes, Your Honor.
It is inferred that. So there's no prohibition
none, Your
on
Honor.
it being done in negotiated procurement. So tapusin ko na po yung dahil medyo mahaba na yung tanong ko. Thank you to my colleagues for indulging me. So Sir Mr. Mejorado, yung Mr. Chairman, conspiracy po yung teorya nyo dito. So ano yung ebidensya nyo na nag-usap-usap sila para unang-una i-overprice yung Iloilo Convention Center at pangalawa kumita sila rito kasi I assume hindi naman sila mag-uusap kung wala silang tama ho ba yun na wala silang pagkakakitaan ho rito?
Mr. Chairman, as the Senate President said, I have to admit that right now there's no evidence because I have no subpoena powers. But as I said, Mr. Chairman, as an investigative journalist, there are paper trails that will lead to the conclusion that there was somebody orchestrating all this. For instance, another point, Mr. Chairman, the letter dated September 24 of Regional Director Idelberto Tayao to Secretary Jimenez after the negotiated bid in the afternoon. The negotiated procurement was completed in the afternoon. But somehow the BAC was so efficient that they came out with a resolution, they came out with the reports, and they came out with a letter of transmission to Secretary Jimenez. The letter was dated September 24. So apparently, because of the long chain of activities, Mr. Chairman, that afternoon, the letter must have been written and signed towards the end of the working hours of September 24. But the document, the face of the document, Mr. Chairman, would show that at 9:30 the following day, it already reached the office of Secretary Jimenez. So who was in a hurry? Who was bringing all these documents to where they should go, Mr. Chairman, and taking shortcuts along the way?
Last question, Mr. Chairman. So sa tingin niyo ho, dahil masyadong mabilis yung takbo ng papeles, may kumita na ho rito?
Ang tingin ko po sa napakabilis ng takbo ng papeles at sa paglabag po ng procurement law, it gives opportunities, big opportunities for corruption, Mr. Chairman.
Salamat ho, Mr. Mejorada. Salamat, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Senator Trillanes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tatanungin ko lang po si Mr. Mejorada. Ang aligasyon po natin ay overpriced po itong building na ito. Ano po ulit yung basis natin for this statement?
As I said, Mr. Chairman, I used the very words of the Senate President when he talked about this project.
So, dun ho sa mga statements. Pero sa inyo ho, based on the documents you have gathered or experts consulted, ano po ang basis natin?
I rely, Mr. Chairman, on the industry standard of 30,000 pesos per square meter, which I pointed out was the very figure cited by the Senate President when he first announced that there was going to be an Iloilo Convention Center.
Okay. Yung industry standard po, ano pong basis natin dito for this statement? Kasi yung binasa ko kanina, ito po yung industry standard, ito yung ginagamit nila. And or kung in the case sa investigation, yung sa Makati Parking Building, meron pong appraiser na recognized and acknowledged expert sa industry na nagsabi ng value. So in your case, ano po ang basis natin?
Mr. Chairman, I am an investigative journalist and I have to rely on published records. What is available in publications and especially in online sources, Your Honor. So I learned, for example, Mr. Chairman, that the Richmond Hotel, which is already completed, it stands 12 stories with 161 rooms across the Iloilo Convention Center, has a price tag of only 500 million pesos. I also learned from my research, Mr. Chairman, that the SMX in the Mall of Asia cost only 26,000 plus pesos per square meter. So that is the basis, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yan po yung sinasabi nyo sa amin ngayon. I would like to believe you, but kung meron kayong may bibigay sa amin na dokumento na nagsasabi na itong structures na ito na minention nyo ay ganyan po ang halaga, di para makumbinsin natin yung komite at yung mga kababayan natin.
Well, Mr. Chairman, because of the figures involved here, karamihan po sa mga architects and engineers in Iloilo are afraid to speak out, although they whisper to me. So,
okay.
Pag sinabi po na ganun po ang basis ko na may industry standard na 30,000 pesos, and yun din po ang sinasabi sa akin ng mga kaibigan natin sa industriya ng construction.
Okay.
Siguro po ipagbigay na natin dahil po yung COA, meron pong Technical Services Office na may mga competent engineer sila dyan. Siguro sila ang makapag-determine dyan.
So, as mentioned by the COA Commissioner, Fabia, ongoing pa lang yung technical audit, so we don't have anything to work on or work with right now. Pero ito nga, nakalagay dito is 53,000 to 62,000 per square meter ang nakalagay dito sa libro, na ito rin yung ginamit namin dun sa Makati Parking Building. Doon naman, kasi may iba-ibang structures may office, building, may apartments, may malls, lahat So, depends sa classification ng building. Ngayon, okay, dahil pinag-uusapan natin overprice kasi, we need to have a round figure. Dahil pag sinasabi nating malamang may kumikita yan, so approximately, how much should this building cost in the first place?
Well, Mr. Chairman, the original information that I obtained about the project, which was gathered by various sources during the briefing held during the unveiling for the Iloilo Convention Center, at nakalagay din po sa Wikipedia based on published sources, ay 6,400 square meters. Yun po ang ginamit ko sa pag-compute na at 679 million to complete phase 1 and 2, aabot po sa 106,226 per square meter po.
Okay. So, yun po yung based sa sources nyo, which is open sources, and itong ginagamit, yung present sa atin ni Secretary Singson ay based on the documents and yung actual size. Ngayon, the COA, technical audit teams, siguro sukatin natin ng diretso para malaman natin kung ilan talaga, para lang ma-reconcile natin yung mga figures para iba-iba, para hindi iba-iba. Now, I'd like to address my questions now to Engineer Canlas. So, in this particular case, in this particular project, ilan po ang profit margin na sinet ninyo?
Pwede ko po bang ulitin po yung value engineering kung paano po namin ginawa?
Engineer Canlas, I believe, na yun, I'm satisfied already with the explanation ng value engineering. Gusto ko lang malaman yung profit margin na sinet nyo for this building.
8 to 10% po, Your Honor.
8 to 10%. So, ang sinasabi ni Secretary Canlas, walang overpricing dito at nagkaroon ng bidding. So, ang nakikita ko rito is ang Hilmarc, ang inyong kumpanya, pagka straightforward bidding, pwede kayong competitive ng price. Pero pagka merong manghihingi sa inyo on the side, doon nyo na ngayon adjust yung inyong presyo. Dahil in the case kasi sa Makati Parking Building, merong testimonya kasi doon na ni Vice Mayor Mercado na nanghingi or may binigyan ng ng komisyon yung mga local government units, kaya kayo nag-adjust. Hindi kasi that's very telling, Mr. Chairman, dahil I think ang basis nitong resolution na ito is parang to presume na lahat ng ginagawa ng Hilmarcs ay overpriced. Di ba? Na parang it's not Makati ang may problema, kundi Hilmarcs ang may problema. Ngayon ang sinasabi ko rito, hindi Hilmarcs ang problema, kundi Makati officials ang may problema. Di ba? Kasi kaya nyong gumawa ng ng presyo na competitive pag walang manghihingi sa inyo. In fact, the DPWH Secretary have trusted you enough and may ISO classification po kayo, no? So, yun lang po ang pino-point out ko rito. Then, last point, Mr. Chairman, kay Mr. Mejorada. Kailangan ho nating malaman dito if your allegation is overpriced. kailangan ho natin malaman kung magkano ho yung estimate, yung overprice na sinasabi nyo, and we have to use experts. Doon ho sa amin, doon sa investigation about doon sa Makati, meron pong, we didn't take the word of Attorney Bondal. We would like to believe him, but kailangan namin ng industry expert to convince us na meron talagang overprice. Okay? So yun po ang starting point po natin. Kung mapoprovidean niyo po kami niyan, then malaking tulong po yan sa komite. Maraming salamat po.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to that briefly?
Before that, I would also like to ask you that in your complaint, you base the alleged overprice at 6,400 square meters.
Yes, Your Honor.
Pero doon sa presentation ni Secretary Singson, it's 11,693 square meters. So, mukhang hindi tayo apples to apples dito, Mr. Mejorada.
Yes,
Am I
Mr.
correct?
Chairman.
Please proceed.
Parang nag-iba-iba po yung figures eh. Sa sinabi ko po, in the first bidding, walang sinabi kung ano yung scopes of work. In the second bidding, for the same contract, Your Honor, at dito po ay siguro makapagpaliwanag si Atty. Santiago, naglagay na po ang DPWH back na yung number 2, the DPWH now invites bids for the proposed Iloilo Convention Center Building Phase 1, Mandurriao District, Iloilo City, to include the following activities. Covering 8,932 square meters. Kanilang figure po ito. Covering 8,932 square meters, ito po. This is an authenticated document from the DPWH, Mr. Chairman.
Have you submitted that to the committee?
I submitted the photocopy of this document as part of the
It's one of your annexes?
Yes, Your Honor.
Secretary
So what I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, nasaan po yung transparency dito? Paiba-iba po. Sa unang invitation to bid, walang sinabi ano ba ang scopes of work. And every contractor will tell you, Mr. Chairman, that they will base their offer on the scopes of work to be done for a project.
Secretary Singson, the allegation is that wala daw scope of work dun sa bidding. Yeah. And secondly, you used a figure of 8,000.
This is based on the invitation.
No, based on the document.
Yes, it's 982 square meters, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
8932.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Singson,
Your
please.
Honor, let me explain the process. No, we advertise and call for bids, but before we actually ask them to submit their final bids, meron tayong tinatawag na pre-construction or pre-bid conference. And doon namin binibigay, doon sa mga interesado, yung detailed scope. Na-itemize po yan. No? So, kung hiningian lang po kami, sana, ng dokumento, and I have insisted that we be open and transparent, sana nabigay po namin lahat ng impormasyon na kinakailangan para ang isang investigative journalist na magaling makuha ng tama ang impormasyon at hindi umasa sa Wikipedia o open information. Marami na po kaming, I have talked to investigative journalists. You can ask Rappler. I tell them how to investigate. No? I'm a speaker to some of their conferences. I explain paano ba kayo mag-iimbestiga dito sa mga infrastructure projects. Kung nahingian lang kami, binigay ho namin lahat impormasyong kailangan para hindi po nahihilo yung mga investigative journalist.
Okay, thank you. Senator Pimentel.
Mr. Chairman, pero aminado po tayo na ito pong konsepto ng value engineering ay bago.
Hindi po, Your Honor. It is already part of the annex. Kaya lang, kulang pa. Kasi it just
okay,
says...
but introduced only because of the IRR of Republic Act 9184.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So, relatively new.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Kaya interesado ako doon sa sinabi ni Mr. Mejorada. May theory po kayo, di ba? Kung kailan ito applicable. Kung hindi, sabi mo illegal na. Can you submit to us with the consent of the chairman, soliciting a memorandum on your theory on the extent of the use of value engineering? Kailan siya nagagamit, kailan siya illegal na kung gagamitin siya. Pwede po ba 'yon, Mr. Mejorada?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, I will gladly do that.
Okay lang, Mr. Chairman. If I'm asking on behalf of the
Yes,
committee.
please.
So, at Secretary, wala sa law ang value engineering, no? The phrase value engineering, can you find it in the law?
We find it in the implementing rules
Yes,
and regulations.
I'm using law as a very strict term. The law, RA. Wala po siya doon?
I'm not aware, Your Honor.
Yeah, can we ask Attorney Santiago, please?
It's not in the law, Your Honor.
It's not in the law, right?
Yes.
It's in the IRR.
The law is couched on general terms, and the implementing rules and regulations are relied upon, Your Honor, for purposes of implementation.
And you're familiar with the history of how the IRR was drafted and who introduced this concept of value engineering and why was it introduced?
Your Honor, I'm very familiar with how the law was crafted and the IRR. I was part of those who supported those who crafted the implementing rules and regulations. The value engineering was introduced, I believe, even by DPWH, and I think in 2004, 2005, there's a consultant from a development partner that developed value engineering manual, Your Honor. I will have to look into this, Your Honor, and then I'll check if this was approved or submitted for the board to the board for its approval, Your Honor.
Mr. Secretary.
Your Honor, may I clarify? Ito po yung value method standard na ginagamit. Value engineering or value methodologies may be applied more than once during the life of the project. No? Hindi lang before, during, even as you finish. No? Now, yung sinasabi po na hindi kami as I mentioned, in the negotiated procurement stage, we ask the bidders, mag-submit kayo ng bid based on the original at mag-submit kayo ng value engineered proposal. No? So hindi ho...
And that's what you did, right?
That's what we did, Your Honor. So it is on document. We requested. We required, in fact, for them. At hindi humurang gumawa ng value engineering. Binabayaran po uli yan.
Mr. Secretary, but do you have in-house capability to appreciate or counter-check or double-check a value engineering proposal?
Meron naman po kami mga structural engineers who can do the calculations kung tama po yung gagawin o hindi. And that's why I mentioned earlier, Your Honor, we did confirmatory soil test precisely to check whether tatanggapin namin yung valued engineer or not. So when we said acceptable sa DPWH, we returned and referred it back to the owner, and the owner called on the original architect on record. Tanggap nyo ba itong changes na ito?
So you did not rely only on the reputation of C-Squared. Yun po ba yun?
No, Your Honor.
So C-Squared is the structural engineering firm, which yun po ba yun? Tama po ba yun?
That's correct. Sila po yun
with a good reputation.
Very good reputation.
But you did not rely solely on the reputation. You did your own calculations.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, so pwedeng maano yun? If we were to look at your calculations, you could produce this? Just not to double check your figures, but just to confirm that you did in-house double checking of the structured engineering proposal.
We will do that, Your Honor.
Would we be able to see the date when you did this? Are these formal documents or are these just scratch paper?
My understanding is there are no formal documents. They look at the records. They do calculations on the basis of... Kasi po, yung when you say value engineering, ang ginawa, binawasan yung pilote. No? So, engineers will always use back of the paper calculations kung yung number of the number of columns, the changes were made, can meet. No?
Kung posible naman po pala yun, why not from the very start? Na ganun na sana yung planning na bawas na po yung pilote ba yung term? Bakit po?
Excuse me, yung pilote ba, yun yung column?
That's correct.
Okay.
Underneath the floor. Yung piles. Yung piles underneath the floor. Your Honor,
yes sir. Why not from the very start na naisip na po natin yun na magtipid sa foundation?
I am sure the architect on record already did their own value engineering before they submitted. No? Kaya lang gaya ng pinapaliwanag ko, there are structural engineers that are conservative and there are aggressive structural engineers who will do some adjustments and recomputations. No?
Kaya nga, meaning to say that the C-squared structural engineer chosen by Hilmarc, tama po yun, no? Is an aggressive structural engineer, following your terms.
That would seem the correct assessment, Your Honor. Dahil nabawasan nila yung number of columns.
Nabawasan yung piles.
Mr. Chair?
Thus saving in the budget for the structure or the foundation of the structure. Yun po ba yun, ano? Mr. Secretary, ganun po yung layman's understanding.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair?
Senator Binay?
Siguro for clarification lang ho, can you differentiate yung term na aggressive and conservative when it comes dun sa piling?
Not, Your Honor, I'm not a structural engineer, so maybe I will defer to Hilmarc's why they chose S squared as their as structural engineer, Your Honor.
Ano bang firm yun? C2 ba yun?
C squared po, Your Honor.
C squared. Okay. I see. Okay. Anyway.
C?
No po, S.
SY. That's the family name of the engineer.
SY po.
SY. Okay.
C. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody from Hilmarc? Mr.
We
Henson?
chose po kasi C squared because almost 90% of our project in the private sector wherein we normally do value engineering are done by them.
Mr. Chair, I just want to know kasi yung difference ng aggressive tsaka conservative. Pag conservative ho ba, mas madaming piling yung ginagamit? Pag aggressive, okay lang sa kanila na konti lang yung piling? Ganun ho ba yung difference ng dalawa? I don't know, Secretary Singson or Engineer Henson?
It is always, actually po, the design criteria that is being set is always the same yung given. So it's a matter of the approach on the structural design. So kanya-kanya po kasing approach kung paano nila i-design yung building.
I guess, siguro kasi di ba, according to Secretary Singson, yung sila architects Colwell used conservative. Ano hong implication ng conservative?
Yung implication nun, mas marami po silang nakalagay na pilote or piles. Yung na-redesign, na value engineered, nabawasan yung piles. And as a result of the reduction of, well, aside from that, may mga binago pa, no? Yung foundation, no? Nabago din yon, and it did not sacrifice the structural integrity of the structure. So, as a result of those value engineering, nabawasan po yung volume ng semento, nabawasan yung volume ng rebars, no? At medyo, tingin ko, gumaang yung building because of those changes, no?
Siguro, Mr. Chair, para mas malinaw yung kwento, siguro mag-umpisa ho tayo doon sa umpisa ng proyekto. May feasibility study ho ba na ginawa itong ICC on the part of TIEZA or DOT?
If by feasibility study, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, you mean, did we evaluate the value of building a convention center in Iloilo, not as a formal study, just as a tourism industry standard. Alam po ng lahat na 16% ng lahat ng turismo sa mundo nanggagaling sa meetings and conventions. Ang meeting and convention po earns 6 times more money than regular tourism. At napakahalaga po nito sa ating turismo dahil pag hindi ka pwedeng mag-exhibitions and meetings dito, ay malamang yung main or 16% of global business for tourism hindi pupunta sa'yo. So, if you take that as a basis for continuing with the project, that is the basis. Now, the start of it was the vision of having such a facility in Iloilo, as encouraged by the fact that Mega World Corporation donated a piece of land. Yun po ang punot dulo niyan, yung donasyon ng lupa na nagbigay sa atin ng pagkakataon na bumuo ng isang magnet para sa stronger tourism sa Iloilo. Ngayon, just for the record, Your Honor, since you have asked me, because this is a forum of professionals and very serious people, I would urge everyone, please do not use Wikipedia as an argument. Because Wikipedia, as those who know communications would know, is a user-generated source. If 1 million people said that apples were square, then apples will be square on Wikipedia tomorrow. Hindi po dapat ginagamit yan in a professional forum as an argument or not even evidence. Having said that, Your Honor, this is, and I beg your indulgence because I come from a marketing end. This was and will be a beautiful building. This is not just any building we are talking about. It is conceived, and for all intents and purposes, ito po ang magiging cultural center ng Iloilo. And napakalungkot po na nababahiran ng kung ano-anong parinig at akusasyon, no? Dahil hindi po yan ang, wala po sa aming hinagap na mapunta yung building na yan sa ganitong klaseng usapan. Pero nandito na po tayo bilang kinatawan ng DOT at tumatay yung may-ari ng building. Kailangan pong masabi dito ngayon na tuwang-tuwa po kami dahil masinsin nga ang ginawang proseso ng DPWH at ng lahat ng involved. Further to the Honorable Senator Pimentel's question, we further affirm na hindi pa natapos yung value engineering dun sa sinabi ng DPWH. Binigay po nila sa amin at kami mismo ang nakipag-meeting sa pinulong namin ang original architect para lang siguruhin na ito bang pagbawas natin ng piles ay tama, hindi ba guguho? And all that cross-checking was done throughout the project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Secretary, I totally agree with you pagdating ho dyan sa Wikipedia. Kasi alam niyo ho, yung dun sa Makati building, yung complainant ho, Wikipedia din ho yung basis. But moving to the next point, so wala hong cost-benefit analysis itong Iloilo Convention Center. There was no master plan development.
When time permits, Your Honor, we can take you through the entire cost-benefit picture. Kasi po, pagbukas nito, meron pa tayong isa pang bidding ng operate and management. Hindi po kami magpapatakbo dyan. Isang private entity ang magpapatakbo niyan para siguradong mabawi ang investment.
Yung dun ho ba dun sa Cebu Convention Center, did it yield the same result pagdating ho dun sa benefits na nakuha ng probinsya?
Ganito po yan, mabuti tinanong ninyo yan. Dahil nga sa larangan ng conventions, kung inyong napapansin, ang convention center nabubuhay lang yan pag yan ay napapaligiran ng hospitality or hotel facilities. Bakit po? Dahil kung ang convention center mo ay nasa isang malayong lugar at lahat na mag-a-attend yan, walang mauwian, magko-commute pa sila to go there, it will die a natural death. Kaya nung kami inalok ng spasyo sa loob ng isang lugar kung saan may planong magtayo ng hindi isa kundi dalawang hotel, ay tinanggap po natin ng malugod talaga. Dahil yan mismo, those are the conditions that that if you will augur well for a successful convention center business.
Siguro, balikan ho natin dun sa kay Attorney Asido, pagdating ho dun sa ownership of the property. Kung ano na ho yung status ng pag-transfer ng titulo from Mega World to DOT.
Mr. Chair, katulad po nung nasabi ko kanina, ang paglipat po ng titulo sa isang may-ari, sa panibagong may-ari, may sinusundan pong proseso. So dito po sa proseso na to, nailatag din po to sa deed of donation na ang may responsibilidad sa paglipat ng titulo ay ang donor. So nagawa po na to ng donor, which is Mega World, and they have actually subdivided the property already. We can in fact submit to you right now, to the committee, a copy of the subdivision plan indicating the meets and bounds of the property, which is known as the Iloilo Convention Center, Your Honors.
And when do you expect to get the title
We are
transferred?
we were informed, Your Honors, that we are now in the process of securing the certificate of registration from the BIR. Once this is properly secured from the BIR, we will go into the process of titling already the property in the name of the Department of Tourism, Your Honors.
Siguro kay Commissioner Fabia, yung ganito ho bang practice is allowed na technically hindi pa nakapangalan yung titulo ng property pero ginagastusan na ng pamahalaan natin?
Marami po tayong ganyang klaseng problema sa implementation ng mga proyekto natin, lalo sa infrastructure, na hindi pa nalipat yung titulo pero may deed of donation na. At yung deed of donation naman na yon ay malinaw kung sino ang magiging may-ari at mga obligasyon ng nag-donate at yung tatanggap ng donation. Sa mga ganong pagkakataon, tinitingnan namin yon, but at the end of the day, sinasabi din namin na dapat may transfer yung title. Kung titingnan natin yung kabuuan ng mga infrastructure projects sa buong Pilipinas, marami po kaming mga sinisita na mga projects na yung mga lupa na pinagtayuan ng mga government infrastructure ay nasa private ownership hanggang sa ngayon. So yun ang aming tumbok ngayon na tinitignan na siguraduhin na mailipat sa pangalan ng gobyerno at hindi gastusan ng gobyerno ang isang proyekto kung hindi pa nakalipat sa pangalan ng gobyerno yung property na i-donate. And
Sige, finish lang and then we see that the Senate President wants to speak.
And you see, if there's a deed of donation, that deed of donation is the final document. The transfer of ownership will come as a necessary consequence.
The Senate President.
Well, there is a commitment I just received from the owner of the property, Mega World, that before the year is over, the title will be issued. It is just a process of subdividing the mother title so that they will carve out 17,000 plus square meters, and then the title will be issued. The subdivision plan, I think, has been finished. It's a question of bureaucratic process. Before the end of the year, the title will be transferred. What is important is that a deed of donation has been signed. This is not being disputed. This is not being rescinded. And the owner of the property, Department of Tourism, is in possession of the property. And in law, as the chairman would know, possession is 90% of ownership. And here, It's a matter of a bureaucratic process before the formal title is issued, and there is a commitment that it will be finished before the year is over. So there is no issue on this, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Binay?
I think meron po ata kayong sasabihin, Attorney Fabio.
Wala na po. Yun lang po na gusto ko lang linawin dito na may deed of donation na. So, in effect, yung deed of donation na yun, yung nagtatransfer ng property in the name of DOT, Department of Tourism. Secondly, may act of ownership na yung DOT dito. Dahil kung titingnan po natin, nag-take possession na sila eh. In fact, they started building on the property.
So ang COA ho, in other projects, hindi nyo ho sinisita yung mga other government agencies na nagtatayo sa isang property na deed of donation pa lang, hindi pa natatransfer, pero ginastusan na ng ating pamahalaan, hindi nyo ho, you don't call their attention na sandali lang, intayin muna nyo yung titulo na malipat sa inyo bago nyo pondohan yung lupain na yan.
Kung ganun ang gagawin po natin sa lahat ng proyekto, matatagalan po yung implementation ng government projects at makikita na po natin na yearly yung appropriations nito. Hindi naman po multi-year. So ang ginagawa po namin, for as long as there's a deed of donation, the actual transfer of a title which is done with the LRA can happen later, for as long as you have a deed of donation. What we are trying to stop at the moment is the practice of constructing in private lots.
In private lots na walang
deed of donation.
Walang deed of donation. So may mga ganung proyekto na
marami
walang
po,
deed of donation,
in fact,
tapos tinatayo.
marami kaming ganon. May mga audit reports kami na nagpapakita na may mga projects na ginawa, lalo ng mga local government units, sa mga private lots na hindi nakadonate sa gobyerno.
Siguro, Mr. Chair, can we ask the COA to submit a listing of all projects na private lot without any deed of donation?
We will comply, Your Honor.
Okay, so ordered.
Tapos dito sa Iloilo Convention Center, you mentioned that you are presently doing an audit. Kailan nyo ito sinimulan?
Actually, ang audit nito ay sa regional office po namin ng COA. So sila kasi from that time na natapos po yung negotiation tsaka yung award ng project, dahil although ginawa dito sa central office, ipinadala yung dokumento doon sa region dahil doon ang implementation. So nandoon po yung mga dokumento ngayon at doon ginagawa yung actual audit nito.
May preliminary audit na ho?
Hanggang ngayon, ongoing pa po lahat. At may mga hinihingi kaming mga dokumento pa. Tulad ng may mga variation or change orders na hindi pa nasasubmit sa amin yung mga dokumento.
And when do you expect to finish ano ho bang audit to? Special audit? Or
hindi po, regular audit lang po to.
So when do you expect ho na makuha yung findings of the regular audit?
Actually, ito yung report ng aming auditor. Ang report ng aming auditor 79% completed na yung first phase. So, ito yung ini-evaluate ngayon ng auditor namin at tinitingnan nila. In due time, we will come up with a report on this. But as to the time frame, it will be done reasonably in the course of the work of the commission.
Ilang months ho yung reasonably?
Mabilis lang po yun. Hindi naman po katagalan. Hindi naman katagalan yun. Kasi pag sinabi nilang 100% completed, talagang titingnan namin ng buo yun eh. At the moment we're doing the audit from the point of view the legal compliance and auditorial compliance. Yung pangatlo kasi, yung technical compliance, yun ang gagawin nito, yung mga technical specialist na po natin ang gagawa nito.
Nasimulan na ho ba yung technical compliance audit?
Hindi pa po nasisimulan. Nasa kwan pa lang po kami.
Nasaan ho?
Nasa legal and auditorial compliance.
And when do you plan to do the technical audit?
I think the best person to answer that is Director Ariesga.
Your Honor, I talked to the regional director of Region 6 yesterday, and I was informed that the documents that are going to be used in the conduct of technical audit has just been submitted to the Technical Services Office in Iloilo. So, i-review pa nila yung completeness ng mga dokumento before they can proceed with the technical evaluation of the contract. Thank you.
Ano hong time frame natin?
As to the time frame, I don't have any idea right now. But the time frame kasi, more often than not, magdepende rin sa completeness ng dokumento na nasubmit sa technical services people doon. So if the documents are all in place, probably it will not last long to complete it.
Siguro, based on your experience, so usually will it take 6 months, 1 year?
Maybe 6 months is too long.
So mga siguro conservative time frame. 1 month? Kaya mo ba by 1 month? Meron na ho kayong preliminary?
I might be baka magkamali tayong mag-estimate dahil wala sa atin yung mga dokumento ngayon. Pero I think 3 to 6 months is reasonable.
Sige, thank you. Siguro
Okay,
dun sa pyesa, kasi nakasulat doon parang you allotted 200 million
Yes, Your Honor.
for this project, and this was used for what?
This is intended actually based on the intention of the project for Phase 1, Your Honor.
And ano ho yung coverage ng phase 1?
The coverage of the Phase 1 will be basically, Your Honor, the structure itself and also the initial finishing of the project.
So wala kayong binid out for the design?
We canceled, Your Honors, the bidding for that process because we already received the donation coming from Mega World of the full architectural and detailed engineering designs.
Siguro, Mr. Chair, lumabas. Okay. Can we request TESA siguro or DOT to submit kung ano ho yung sinubmit ng Coscolwela na design?
Yes, Your Honors. Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, so ordered.
Kompleto ho yung with costings or it's just the design?
Only the architectural and detailed engineering designs, Your Honors.
So walang costing doon?
None, Your Honors.
So nung sinabit nila architect Coscolwela itong design na to, you didn't have an idea on how much this project would cost?
We already have an initial knowledge, Your Honor, but we had to validate as well with our partner, the DPWH, on the costing, Your
Hindi,
Honor.
pero when they submitted nga, may amount doon na yung Iloilo Convention Center would cost X amount.
No, Your Honor, because an architect will only submit for the architectural and detailed engineering design. It is not the function of the architect to submit the cost estimate. It is the function of the contractor. In our case, it's the function of the DPWH.
Hindi, pero kasi di ba technically hahanapan nyo ng pondo itong project na to. So paano nyo malalaman na kailangan nating i-raise let's say 1 billion for this Iloilo Convention Center kung wala kayong idea based dun sa plano na sinabit nila Coscolwela?
Your Honors, we already, as I said, we already had a knowledge of how much the project will cost at that time.
Based from what?
Based on the submissions as well of documents submitted to us by Architect Coscolwela, which is very informal, Your Honor, because at that time we were also told that what they are going to doing is only the detailed architectural design.
So wala kayong formal letter stating or a listing na parang sinasabi itong Iloilo Convention Center would cost let's say 300 million or 400 million? For example lang ho, di ba, kunyari, pag nagpapatayo ho kayo ng bahay, more or less, alam nyo na kung magkano yung kailangan nyong i-raise na pondo para makapagpatayo kayo ng bahay. So, I'm wondering kung pagdating dito sa convention center, kung may ganung planning.
If I may answer, Your Honor.
Secretary Jimenez, you're recognized.
Your Honor, it only becomes a construction project once we have turned to the implementer, the DPWH. Up to that point, it's a bunch of drawings and a piece of land which we're very excited over, like any owner of property. Hindi po obligasyon ng arkitekto ang mag-submit ng costs. The architect is a consultant in the design and the engineering, and it helps us verify the costs. But as government, the implementing arm, the DPWH, is the one that will gather the information that will eventually give us an idea of what it is going to cost.
So,
At this point, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Serge Esmeña.
so parang when you started this project, hindi nyo alam kung magkano yung government funds ang magagamit.
We knew, Your Honor, because there was, as I've said a while ago, there was already a representation made by the architect on how much is the cost of
But
the project.
verbal. It was a
Yes.
verbal...
No, Your Honor. We actually have the same document which was submitted or made mention in the
No, but you said
presentation.
yung sinabit nila Architect Cosculluela, walang amount.
No, there was an amount, Your Honor. It's basically the same amount as well, which was in the report of the
Yeah,
Secretary.
so there was an amount. Kasi
Yes, Your Honor.
originally you said na parang it was just a design with no costing. Kasi ang sila Architect Cosculluela is just...
Yes, Your
It's
Honor.
a
But
design.
as we've said, the architect took it on his own as well
And what
to do
was
an
that
independent
amount?
cost analysis.
And what
Your
was
Honor.
that amount?
May I, Your Honor? The estimated amount of the consultant was 704,156,600 without the pile foundations.
And na plano nyo na rin kung saan nyo kukuning budget itong 704 million?
Yes, Your Honor. Let me explain po in context of how we approve budgets in our agency. It has to go through a vetting process as well. We follow a strict guideline as well for determining approval of infrastructure projects. First guideline is that it must be tourism related and identified as a priority project by the Department of Tourism under the National Tourism Development Plan. Second guideline is that it must be publicly owned by government. So in both cases, Your Honor, since this was identified by the department as a priority measure, a priority project under the NTDP, and it's already owned by government, it falls within their guidelines. And with that, we submitted this already to our Board of Directors for approval.
Can you please submit the document stating na it is a part of the priority program?
Yes, Your Honor. We have in fact submitted to the committee a copy of our board resolution approving the allocation and earmarking of funds for this project.
So yung 200 million, you got it from your MOE? Or
No, Your Honor. This is part of our corporate operating budget.
The 200 million?
Yes, Your Honor.
Eh, yung kailangan ng proyekto is 704 million. So, ang na-raise nyo is 200 million. So, in terms of planning, where did you, parang, saan nyo inisip na kulang pa tayo ng 504 million? So, saan natin kukunin itong 504 million para matapos talaga itong proyekto na to?
This is where, Your Honor, we had a convergence partnership already with the DPWH po. So the funds, the remaining balance of the funds came from the DPWH.
Secretary, this was part of your capital outlay? Or
Kasama po sa JA 2013, nabuo yung 500 and that was the basis of our bidding for phase 1. And the 200 million is included in the 2014 GAA, Your Honor.
Okay, ano ulit? Originally, how much, di ba, we already have 200 million from
Yes.
TIEZA, and then kulang pa ho ng 504.
Yeah, we had 300 in 2013 under our GAA.
300 ho?
So kaya, and then another 200 in 2014 to make a total budget of 700.
But meron ho kayo ditong submitted to the committee, funding source, DPWH 2012 GAA 100 million.
That's correct. And then another 200 in 2013.
Okay.
Kaya nagkaroon ho kami in 2013 when we bid it out, we already had 500, which was the basis of our phase 1.
Itong 100 million from DPWH budget, saan ho galing tong pondo na to?
This was requested to DBM, Your Honor.
Kayo ho nag-request?
That's correct.
Was this endorsed by a legislator?
No. Baka,
Why doesn't my colleague ask me what my role in funding here?
Okay, let's put order. Let's put order. Excuse me.
Beat around the bush.
Mr. Senate President, let's put order. Sandali lang.
No. I'm just saying,
1 minute suspension. Hearing suspended. Hearing resumed upon consultation with Senator Binay. She will direct the questions to Senate President Dillon. Please proceed, Senator Binay.
Yes, po. Senate President, did you request funding for this project?
Yes, I requested funding for this project. How it was sourced in the GAA is something that I have no control over, because the DBM and the Office of the President will determine which portion of the budget can accommodate the request. Yes, I am proud to say that I requested for funding for this project. But I did not participate in any manner in the bidding, in the choice of the contractor, in supplying the materials for this project. Yes, I did request for funding.
From your, so hindi yung source neto was not from your PDAF?
I requested for funding from my PDAF. I do not know whether it was my PDAF was the one used or some other item in the General Appropriations Act. Some savings somewhere.
Siguro, Secretary Singson, can you just clarify when you said na no, when I asked you the question?
which question, Your Honor?
If
Sorry.
this was requested by a legislator and you answered no.
Well, kasi ho kami, dumadating na lang yung SARO sa amin. So, with the information provided by the Senate President, he was the one that requested, apparently.
So yung request ho was not addressed to you, it was addressed to, I guess, siguro si Senate.
It was addressed to the President through the DBM.
It was addressed to President Aquino, your request?
Yes. Who else would you address a request for funding?
Siguro, Senate President, can we request a copy of that letter?
I'll look for it.
And how much was the amount that you requested?
I don't recall.
Siguro for ano lang, because...
What is the materiality of the question? The issue here is the overprice. There has been no proof present. The details of the pricing of the building was explained in detail. The source of the funding is General Appropriations Act and the corporate funds of TIEZA. I made a request for a funding. I do not hide that. How it was treated insofar as the items in the budget are concerned, I have no control and I have no knowledge.
So you're not aware that this came from DAP?
It could have come from DAP.
No, I think based dun sa document submitted by Secretary Abad.
Yes, it could have come from DAP. What is important is that at the time that there was a DAP, there is a presumption of legality because it has not been declared unconstitutional at that point. And in this particular case, what is important is, mayroon hubang ninakaw na pera dito? DAP man o pork barrel man o anuman. May ebidensya ba na may kumita rito? Hanggang 3 oras na tayo nagbi-meeting dito, ala pa ako naririnig kung paano po ninakaw ang pera dito. Puro conclusion galing sa Wikipedia, yan naman po, so I just want to put it in context.
So dun ho sa sulat nyo kay Presidente, wala hong nakasulat na I request for 300 million, for 400 million. Wala hong specific amount.
I don't recall, but I did request for funding. And what is important is that DPWH said the funding in multi-year umabot ng 500 million.
Sige po. Secretary Singson, did you request for funding?
Ako na nga nagsabi that I requested for funding eh.
Hindi po. As a Secretary of DPWH, did you request or did Secretary Jimenez request for funding for this project?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, medyo senior moment. No, I don't recall having requested. No, but I will check. I will check because I believe it might be possible that it was the 2014 that we requested. Dahil alam namin kulang nga yung budget nung phase 1. But as I said,
Secretary Jimenez po, did you request for funding for this project?
For this amount that you're referring to, Your Honor, no, we did not request.
So the request just came from Senate President for additional funding.
Mr. Senate President, would you respond, please?
Yes, I do not deny that. I requested for funding. It was a worthy project. It was done properly. And the TIESA has allocated from its corporate fund 200 million.
Siguro, Secretary Jimenez, how come you did not request?
Ang toka ho namin ay 200 million na eh.
Ang
ganun lang ho talaga ang aming participation. There was no need for me to request additional funding.
Please,
but
please
the project,
talk closer to the mic. Please.
But the project needed the project cost was 704 million. So
I am the owner of the property. It is not just my project. It is, in fact, if you think about it, the project of the people of Iloilo and the people who are involved in tourism. Now, we cobbled together a budget, as you can gather from my share of it is 200 million plus the land, which I already owned as a result of the donation by Mega World Corporation.
And yung DPWH, what was your share?
Balance had to be given to DPWH so that we could complete the project.
So itong additional funds, kasama na ho ito dun sa nire-request na for 2015?
Wala na ho. Dahil na-cover na ng 2014 yung balancing 200. It's already there.
And when do you plan to finish this project?
The bidding is ongoing. We're looking at completing, if there are no more legal impediments for phase 2, April, May.
Tapos na ho?
Yes, Your Honor.
Assuming ho na failed bidding ulit yung second bidding, and then you'll go to a negotiated, aabot pa din ho dun sa...
Hahabulin po yan.
Kakayanin naman ho.
Opo.
And the project ho is on time? Yung...
Well, actually
in terms of construction?
Actually ho, yung phase 1 is already 96% completed, but we've only paid the contractor 60%.
Bakit po? Kulang pa yung bayad nyo?
Hindi po. Yung kaibigan ko hindi pa rin i-remit yung utang nila.
Question ho, kung sabi nyo hong kulang, yung funding ho came, 150 million came from DAP. This was declared illegal by the Supreme Court. So paano ho yung payment sa kanila?
Hanggang phase 1 po yung kontrata nila eh.
Hindi nga, kasi di ba yung source nga ho ng fund came from DAP. There's may ruling ho na illegal na in fact I think in other Asian, in fact kayo din ho, di ba yung ibang proyekto nyo put on hold kasi declared illegal yung source of funding. So paano ho pagdating dito sa...
No, but these are already covered contracts. The funds are with us. So we continue to execute.
So ano ho yung cause of delay dun sa payment sa kanila?
Your Honor, I will defer to Secretary Jimenez.
Because we have not paid completely, Your Honor. Meron ho kaming sariling due diligence, as it was described earlier, and we are still in the process of paying. That's all.
So, kasi may monthly submissions po kami. So, they wait until they check all these monthly submissions, and on that basis, they release the funds to us. So, physically, ahead ho yung physical, siyempre, yung processing ng payments, they submit to us, we review it, and then from DPWH, regional office, it goes to central submits to DOT, and that's the only time they remit to us.
Pertains to the 200 million. But the other amount, the other 300 million, nasa inyo ho yun. Yun ho, nabayad nyo na sa... Ay, hindi pa din. So more or less, so like, dun
Kasi
sa...
so far, my understanding is we're paying as they are billed to us. No? So ang total na nabayad is so far 296 million. Although in physical accomplishment, ahead sila. No? 96% dahil hindi pa nagsasubmit ng full billings.
So yung 296 million, magkano ho galing sa TIESA dun sa 296 million?
None. Zero.
Ah, wala pa. So it's all DPWH.
We have, yes.
So kayo ho, ang natitira nyo na lang pera is 4 million.
There looks that way, out of the 300 that is with us. Kasi corporate funds ho ng TIESA yung 200 to cover the 500 or 290 plus million contract.
Sige, tapos minention ho kayo na eventually this will be transferred to private, yung pagmamanage ho nung convention center will be awarded to...
It is not a transfer, it is an assignment. It is a contract to operate and to manage, yes. Yes, Your Honor.
Hindi niyo pa ho nabibid yan?
We have started the process, but we have not bidded it out yet. We have not awarded anything.
And when do you plan to bid it out?
With respect to the operation and management of the convention center, Your Honors, the intention is to bid it out as well to a private proponent. We are now in the process of bidding that out. So, ideally, the operator of the convention center should be in before the completion of the project. So if the intended completion of the project is by March, the operator should be in already in the project by February or March as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Binay. Senator Esmeña.
Thank you. Let me address this to Secretary of Tourism. Secretary Jimenez, who started the whole thing? Who started the entire project? Who conceptualized it? Who brought it together?
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
In my opening statement, I admitted I was the one who conceptualized this. In the process when we were consulting the hotel industry in Iloilo, when they said that the occupancy rate was very low and therefore they were finding it difficult to survive. So we were the one who conceptualized it in discussion with the hotel industry in Iloilo.
All right. So you conceptualized it and you made a proposal to the President or to the Department of Tourism?
We made a proposal to Mega World that because the hotel industry said the best location of a proposed convention center is the Mega World development in the old Mandurriao Airport. And therefore, with this, I sat down together with some prominent Iloilo professionals with Mr. Andrew Tan, and we proposed to Mr. Andrew Tan that the Mega World donates a parcel of land where a convention center will be put up. He agreed to donate over 17,000 square meters to the government, and also donated the architectural services of Mr. Coscaluela. Of course, the deed of donation stipulated that this parcel of land will be exclusively used for a convention center. And the property is worth about 500 million pesos, Mr. Senator.
With 500 million to whom?
The value of the donated property.
The value of the donated property would be worth about, what, 30,000 pesos per square meter?
That's
then?
correct.
All right. But they bought it from government.
They bought it from government in a bidding done.
How much did they pay for it when they bought it from government?
I recall
less.
for about 1.2 billion.
No, you're talking about the entire 55
That's
hectare
correct.
Mandurao property, but how much per square meter so we can compare apples and apples?
I don't have that kind of information.
Probably 1,000 or 2,000 pesos per square meter.
I don't really know.
And it would be an advantage to the developer, would it not, since several hotels and office buildings are being developed there, to have a convention center.
That's correct. It was there was a commercial benefit also to the developer.
Well, definite commercial benefit. In fact, when you were talking to the other hotel operators, some of whom are proposing to put up their own branches in Mandurriao, they were complaining that they would need added attraction, and it stood to reason that the convention center be constructed in Mandurriao because that's where the land was and that's where future development was going to happen. So we agreed. Would Andrew Tan have agreed to pay for the convention center?
I could not speculate on that, Mr. Senator.
He might have. But in any case, I just wanted to dot some I's and cross some T's. Mega World has a master plan, and I would suppose that the Department of Tourism checked out this master plan in order to make sure that the convention center would be in conformity with the master plan of Mega World. As a matter of fact, it must have been Mega World that decided where to put the convention center, and that was the piece of land that they donated.
Well,
yes,
Mr.
Secretary.
Chairman, Your Honor, if I may also add, the relationship is in fact almost perfectly symbiotic or synergistic because, as I had pointed out earlier, the formula for a successful convention center, if you took the convention center point of view, is that it is proximate or serviced by large, meaningful hospitality or hotel facilities. So,
would you repeat that last word? Large, meaningful.
large, meaningful hospitality or hotel facilities.
That is correct. So that's a symbiotic relationship there.
This is
When did you,
an ideal combination.
if you check the master plan of Mega World, did they not already have a site for a convention center?
Yes, we did, and no, they did not.
Okay.
Your Honor, just to clarify, as it stands today, the Mega World was in fact registered with the PESA, not the TIESA. Okay, so the vision of a convention center, was, if you will, was born when in fact there was this, when people realized that there was this opportunity. The space where the convention center is now could very easily have been a BPO structure. But it was upon the suggestion of Iloilo leaders led by Senator Drilon that everyone agreed, including Mega World, that the convention facility would be ideal.
Excuse me. Mega World has several hotels conceptualized, probably not yet being constructed. I understand there are 2 or 3 already in Mandurriao, but they should be in close proximity to the convention center. Is this not so? Yeah, I mean, you're not
Yes.
going to put the convention center at one
No.
end and where all
No.
the BPOs are.
In fact, the
rather
convention
than
center
close to the shopping center and close to the hotels. Correct?
That is correct, Your Honor. It sits, the the ICC will sit in between two large hotels. One is the Richmond and
That's
one is
right.
the Marriott.
Okay. Now, when Mr. Coscolwela, who is a very prestigious architect, was called in, was he the only one called in by MegaWorld? I'm curious because normally you would have magko-contest sila kung anong design na acceptable, anong magandang
I would
design.
not know what process, because all I know is that the plan was eventually donated as well as part of the donation. I don't know what relationship they have, only that they have more than one project together, if that's the question. And therefore,
I have no quarrel with Coscolwela. I'm just trying to determine the process. I mean, did MegaWorld tell the Department of Tourism, I'll give you the land, but you have to use Coscolwela?
No. It's the other way around. The donations, Your Honor, came with the plan. And the stipulation was, you follow this plan.
Follow this plan and I'll give you the land.
Well, this is part of the donation. Accept this as part of the donation now.
Ayan nga tinatanong ko, Mr. Secretary. Conditional ho na gamitin si Coscolwela. No, because ayun yung plano eh. Yung plano
Mr.
ginawa ni
Secretary,
Coscolwela.
Yes.
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
Senator Gluro. Please continue.
The plan was part of the donation.
The plan was part of the donation.
If I may,
I agree. But which came first?
As commissioned
The
by
plan or the donation?
the donation, because
You just contradicted yourself. But anyway, go ahead. Did they say I will donate and then
the
here
plan
I'm
arising
offering a
out-
plan?
Yes.
Or did they say, etong plan ko, eto yung convention center, pag in-accept po ninyo ito, I'll donate the land.
Your Honor, if I may read just directly from
Yes, please.
To wit, Your Honor, this donation shall be effective upon the acceptance of the donee to ensure consistency and compatibility
Upon
with the-
acceptance of
the donee, by the donee. The donation shall be effective upon acceptance by the donee. To ensure consistency and compatibility with the overall design and development of the surrounding areas, the donee shall use donor's proposed conceptual design of the Iloilo Convention Center.
That's right. So therefore, it was connected, it was conditioned, and it was already part of the master plan of MegaWorld.
Yes.
All right. Nothing wrong with that. We just wanted to get that right. Now, earlier I overheard the Secretary questioning the value or the accuracy of Wikipedia. And I agree with him. In the strictest sense, what is written in Wikipedia can always be challenged. It's not the last word. It is not the Encyclopedia Britannica, which is a more authoritative source of information. Now, Wikipedia, because it's so convenient to use, I use Wikipedia for many things, but I will not swear by it. However, they define value engineering as a systematic method to improve the value of goods or products by using an examination of function. And there are two purposes. One is either to improve function or two, to reduce cost. It's like balancing a budget. You either improve revenues or you cut expenditures, di ba? So, let me ask Secretary of the DPWH, Secretary Singson. When you say this project underwent value engineering, therefore you checked on the functions and see where you could cut without destroying value. What is the function of those spires?
Your Honor, when we said we allowed in the alternative mode of procurement, we asked the proponent to submit based on original design and a design considering or going through value engineering, except that they could only do value engineering in the structural, not in the design, not in the architectural appearance. Because otherwise, if we allowed that, open that to value engineering, that could have ended up as a box. If we allowed them to open and review everything. But our agreement was they would only be allowed to review the structural design, not the whole submission of architect Coscolluela.
If architect Coscolluela had a gold crown on top, you couldn't say change the gold to silver or change the silver to copper.
Well, in
Hindi
fact,
dapat galawin yon.
Hindi ho. In fact, the original plan submitted by Coscolluela, yung fins na yon konkreto. No? There was a value engineering design that changed that concrete to aluminum or lighter material. So pumayag din po siya doon.
Made it cheaper.
Made it lighter and easier to, at mas maganda pong tignan dahil makinis siya rather than palitan ng konkreto po yung gagawin dun. So, hollow instead of a solid concrete fin.
All right. Now, maybe you can help us further. The layman's way of determining and being able to compare costs is on a value per square or cost per square meter basis. And so, monitoring the hearings on the Makati City Hall and this one, we see the same situation happening. Earlier, I remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, the allegation that this convention center would cost 106,000 pesos per square meter. Of course, we know that the convention center, we personally, I mean, is different from a office building or commercial space that is normally rented out. But how would you value it? Because you used earlier figure between 53,000 and 65,000 per square meter. Now, when you say on a per square meter basis, how could you use the same square meter determination when you're really comparing apples and oranges?
Well, Your Honor, and that's why we had to correct the figure being bloated, being said that the cost will be 106, 102,000. We estimate on the basis of, if you remember, what we have done so far is only phase 1. There's still a phase 2. So that if you, and the basis also of that bloated 102 is a much smaller floor area. We're saying the total floor area of this convention center is 11,693
May I
square
interrupt
meters.
lang? I just wanted to get something confirmed. Phase 2, does phase 2 include more floor areas? Additional?
No, Your Honor. This would be for the air handling, air conditioning, elevators,
Electromechanical.
Electromechanical. That's
Okay.
correct, Your Honor. And some other final finishing.
Yeah, but even adding that in, I believe that you were able to say that the floor area is not only, what was it supposed to be in the beginning?
The original estimate that we had was it will be about 63,000 per square meter. But we are confident after reviewing...
63,000 square meters
No,
of floor area?
63,000 pesos per square meter.
No, but what was the floor area?
The same, 11,693.
before that, what was the floor area that others thought?
6,000, only the ground
So
floor.
you double it.
Almost.
So
Your
the
Honor.
denominator became bigger,
That's
so the
correct,
cost
Your
per
Honor.
square meter became lower.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, where did you get the additional square meterage from? I think you added the roof.
No, Your Honor. As designed
the
by
roof deck.
architect, there's a ground floor,
Yes.
a second floor of where the function rooms, small breakout rooms, and then you have a mezzanine, which takes where the air handling units will be put, and you have a roof deck. The roof deck we included in the computation because it is a full deck that you can eventually put 2 more floors.
So it's load bearing already.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay.
That's why we included the roof deck in the computation.
But you cannot include the roof deck because you haven't finished the pillars and you haven't finished the ceiling of the next 2 floors. So you must factor that in also.
No, everything will be finished at about 700 million.
Even the two,
Yes.
even the 2 additional floors.
No, not the additional 2 floors.
No, that's what I'm saying. You cannot factor in the square meterage of the roof deck because it's not a complete floor yet, or it's not a complete 2 floors yet,
No,
diba?
the deck itself is already complete. Yung ipapatong na lang ang wala doon, Your Honor.
Kaya nga, but you still have to put up the pillars.
That's correct.
To
Wala
support
wala pang bubong.
And when we talk about square meter of a, say, commercial building, nandun na. Like here in this room, you've got the pillars, you've got the ceiling. Diba? So you cannot compare apples and apples also there that I have a roof deck, so you include that at 52,000 per square meter. That does not cost 52,000 per square meter.
Well, in a sense, you're correct because there is no roof on the roof deck yet.
Not only is there no roof, but you said it's equivalent to 2 more floors, so you really would have had to have a concrete roof. And in any case, how would we laymen now be able to compare a commercial building construction cost of between 20, 30,000, even 40,000 per square meter of occupiable space of gross space?
Your Honor, that's why earlier we were showing that the main lobby alone has a floor-to-ceiling height of 14.6 meters.
I saw that, so don't worry. Now, how would you factor in if we were to build a room like this, session hall, and we would extend the ceiling by another how many meters?
14 meters.
14 meters. How much more would it cost? It certainly wouldn't cost exactly the same as if I had built additional floors. It would be less. What kind of formula should we laymen use to be able to compare an apple with an orange? Or a papaya with a banana?
I'm not a structural engineer, nor am I a civil engineer, so I would rather defer those to maybe the contractor.
For the next hearing, would you be able to just to give us a ballpark figure, a formula, like a times 0.4 or times 0.6?
We could ask from quantity surveyors, Your Honor.
All right. You see, to us laymen lang, nakikita natin yung malapit dito, yung MOA, yung Mall of Asia Arena. Now, that has several meters also of floor-to-ceiling distance, di ba? Pang-basketball po yun. And yet, the cost per square meter there is something like 30,000 or 40,000.
Your Honor, may I explain the
Yes,
difference between government procurement and private sector procurement? Just going to the particular item on electromechanical, elevators, air conditioning, escalator. The government will estimate based on market. But if MegaWorld or SM will, for example, procure that with all of the procurement that they do in all of their other buildings, they can definitely bring down the cost of these major items to easily 25%.
I agree.
Okay. Now, if you consider also the volume of cement and even steel bars that their contractors use, then again, you could easily bring that down. Now, unfortunately,
So
hindi
therefore, as a rule of thumb, you're saying, just as a
they
rule of
can
thumb.
easily break down our cost by 15%.
Okay, so 50 or 15?
15.
15
to 20%.
So I will take the cost of Mall of Asia, whatever it is, 30 to 40,000. I'll just add 15%. Kung gusto mo, 20%. And that should be a more apples and apples comparison with the Iloilo Convention Center. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's going to be pretty close.
Okay.
Or if you deduct from our estimate 20%, that would be, I think, what the private sector could possibly do.
All right. So for the next hearing, if you could just give us those formulas, then I think we will, the committee will consider it
Yes, Your Honor.
as a way to compare. Right now, we're trying to compare, and we're just absolutely going bananas in trying to make sense out of this. Now, I interrupted you earlier, Mr. Senate President, because I was losing my trend of thought. Did you want to interject something? Senator Drilon.
No, I think the statements of Secretary Singson sufficiently explained.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President. May the committee have a copy of the abstract of bids? First failed bidding, second failed bidding, the comparison with the value engineering, so that we can compare.
Yes,
it
Your Honor,
with,
we will comply.
You know, we're always using what we heard in the hearing on the Makati City Hall parking building with what you're saying, because that's our only frame of reference. That will be all for now. Thank you. I would like to thank the two secretaries for responding.
Thank you, Senator Osmeña. Mr. Secretary, it suddenly occurred to me that what if we think outside of the box and come up with a formula of per cubic meter? Is that possible?
Well, right off, this standard is always...
Yes, I know. That's why kaya, but this time, pagdating na convention center to a building, you say that's or convention center to a convention center, you cannot even compare them per square meter. So how about cost per cubic meter? Is that possible?
Your Honor, I think the more conventional is look at the bill of quantities. Ilang cubic meters of cement will be used, how many kilograms of steel will be used. So, eto po yung malalaking items eh. On that basis, and the only way you can know that is if you go back to the working drawings. No? To construct this kind of a floor, the two biggest item there would be bakal semento. So if you are able to determine, assuming parehong finishing ang gagamitin mo dyan, if you are able to determine how many cubic meters of cement you need and how many kilograms of steel you will need to construct, kung ilang floors man yan, then you will be able to compare apples and apples. You can come up with a unit cost of cement that was used as against standard.
I was looking at the volume of the space enclosed by the structure, like a convention center. So, baka, well, I don't know if you could study that cost per cubic meter. But, Mr. Secretary, yes, sir?
May I just clarify what you meant by cubic meter of air?
The space enclosed by the structure.
You mean to say we would now judge a structure by the amount of space it occupies in cubic meters?
in the hearing for the Makati City Hall, we have encountered different theories in determining the cost so that we can determine whether there is an overprice. So there is the appraisal method. Someone appraises the cost of the structure. There is a per square meter approach. But since we're talking about a convention center where we say that it cannot be compared with an ordinary building because the height of an ordinary building is 4 meters per floor, while this one, the lobby, is 14 meters. Therefore, the volume of the space occupied by this structure is, which is only one floor, is greater than the normal one floor. So maybe we can also have another test or another standard where we use the volume of space enclosed by the structure as a way of comparing the cost.
Your Honor, that will fail if you start looking at a volumetric. Kung first ground floor, you don't need too much foundation. No, dahil one floor lang as against a high structure where you will need a lot of foundation. So the volumetric might not be accurate. No.
Yeah, I get your point. If in a per cubic meter, it will not actually give us the actual cost. So may I go back to the value engineering concept, Mr. Secretary? You said so. Even after the structure was value engineered, you still maintained the load-bearing design for the roof deck?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Why did you not touch this one? Reduce the cost by abandoning the plan to construct 2 more floors and then value engineer the roof deck so that it will be cheaper?
Well, I don't think it was part of the parameters that we gave, frankly, Your Honor. It was just on the structural
because for all you know, you may not even build those 2 additional floors.
That's a possibility.
And yet you invested on a roof deck strong enough to support 2 more floors. And you had a problem with contractors meeting the ABC. And you resorted to saving cost on the foundation, the structure, but you did not touch the roof deck.
You're correct, Your Honor. Kung gusto naming tipirin pa ito, then we could have said...
Why did it not occur to you?
I think the owner might be in a better position to would there be a need? We were just looking at the possibility of adding, the possibility in the future of another floor from the roof deck.
But we weakened the structure of the foundation of the entire structure by value engineering. Diba? We lessened the piles.
No.
So still, sabi ng computation, it could still
take on.
It could still support the original structure plus 2 more floors.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay, pero ako kasi parang ang common sense sa akin, ang una ko sigurong sabay pala. I will reduce the load-bearing capacity of the roof deck to reduce the cost, then commit myself to the structure, no longer add 2 more floors, and then reduce the value engineer now the foundation to support as is. I'm a layman, Mr. Secretary.
Your Honor, there was also an agreement as to what we could touch, what we could value engineer. And apparently, the roof deck was not among those included that we could touch.
But who made the rules? Di ba kayo rin?
No, not us.
Who?
The architect and the owner. Taga-execute lang ho kami.
So pati sa value engineering,
we had to refer back to the owner and to the
Yeah,
the
the,
architect.
the owner would be the DOT.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So the question should properly be directed to the Department of Tourism. Why did you not consider reducing the standards or the specifications of that roof deck if the problem was for contractors to meet your ABC?
Just before you answer that, Secretary Singson, the role of DPWH is akin to a contractor. You're the house owner, and you tell the DPWH, your contractor, I want this, 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 and this. So the contractor has no discretion. He has to do what the owner of the building says he wants it to be built. Am I correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman, Your Honor. If I may venture just a layman's point of view.
And one more point before you proceed. I think Senator Biner wants to ask a question connected to the question of Senator Pimentel.
Yung roof deck ho ba yung provision for additional 2 floors was part of the original plan submitted by Architect Coscolwela?
That's correct, Your Honor.
It was part of it. And if you think about it, again, Your Honor, I must submit that I am not an engineer. My appreciation of it is that a decision, for example, to remove the option to build up is irreversible. And I would guess, that the architect's recommendation was precisely to make sure that what we built had the option for expansion, if in fact it was called for. The moment you build down, you lose that option altogether, and the possibility of building up would be even more costly. So it's a kind of, if you will, it's a kind of calculated. If I were the architect, I would build in expansion, and that will require certain structural strengths, so that you don't have to tear down the building just to expand it. Parang ganun ho yung, and given that advice, as owner, we have no violent objection to that stance, especially if, as assured by the DPWH, that we would eventually meet standards we were expecting.
Senator Esmeña.
Thank you. Just a couple of things I missed. The convention center, while owned by the Philippine government, is that part of the TIESA? TIESA.
TIESA. The
TIE, no? TIESA, no?
TIESA, the Tourism Infrastructure and Enterprise Zone Authority. Yes, sir.
Is that a part of the TIESA, or is it a TIESA in itself?
No, it is not. The zone is not registered with the TIESA, sir. It is registered as a PEZA.
Well, that's more or less the same thing. I think they more or less have the same tax benefits,
it's just
no?
that the TIESA has a focus on tourism, yes, sir.
In other words, kung may papasok dyan ng mga vendors, they'll be entitled to tax benefits. If I put up a magazine stand, if I put up a candy store, if I put up a restaurant there.
No, Your Honor, the incentives extend only to the primary investors.
Only
it
the
does
primary.
not include locators.
I see. Now, Mega World, since it made a donation to the government, did it take tax credit for this?
It, I would presume, avails of all incentives they are entitled to under the PEZA law.
PEZA.
PEZA. Because they are registered as PEZA, not the TIESA.
Oh, so the entire Mandurriao that is being developed by Mega World is a PEZA.
It's PEZA, not TIESA. We have jurisdiction only on the donated property.
All right. But still, they do have taxes to pay, whether it's 5% or
Absolutely,
30%.
sir.
They do
Yes,
have
Your Honor.
corporate taxes to pay. Did they
Yes.
take a credit for donating this land to the...
I have no
would you like
direct
to
knowledge of
inquire,
that,
please?
sir.
Would you please
Yes.
inquire and
We will inquire.
tell the committee because the land alone, I estimate they bought for about 17 million. I wonder what they valued their donation to the Department of Tourism.
We will inquire and submit to the committee, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, maybe
Senator Binay?
maybe the next hearing, why don't we invite a representative from Mega World, pati na rin siguro dun sa kila Architect Coscolwela.
Noted.
Before we leave the subject matter of the roof deck, Mr. Chairman, what is the area of the roof deck, Secretary Singson?
Honor, 1,563 square meters.
So can we come up with the cost per square meter, not including the roof deck, because as of the moment, it does not carry any load. Pwede po ba yun? And then para lang we treat it as if it is already the finished that is already the final look of the height of the building, and then get a per square meter cost, treating the roof deck as merely a roof.
We will do that, Your Honor, but I don't think I can do it right
Yes,
now.
so yes, sa next hearing pa. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Mejorada, you have a commitment, no, about the memorandum I'm requesting you to submit.
Yes.
How many days do you need? About the value engineering, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. I have materials here, so I can just type them into
I
a
want an
memorandum.
elaboration of your theory.
Yes.
Your theory. It's not that I agree,
Thursday-
Mr. Mejorada. It's not that I agree with your theory, but I'm interested in your theory.
Yes, Your Honor.
Apo.
So, give me until Monday, Your Honor.
And then Attorney Santiago, about the history of this value engineering, how it got introduced in the IRR when it is not even mentioned in the law.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tama po ba yun? It's a statement of fact. It's not mentioned in the law. The phrase value engineering.
Yes, Your Honor. It's not in the law, Your Honor.
It's not in the law.
It's in the IR.
It's actually parang a study, no, a report from Attorney Santiago, how it got introduced. Mr. Chairman, that is what I'm asking. Mr. Chairman.
I will check the records, Your Honor, of...
That's what I'm asking Attorney Santiago. A study or a report on how the concept of value engineering got introduced into the IRR when it is not mentioned in the law. Gagawa po siya.
Any recommendation, Attorney Santiago, on inclusion of the... yeah, that's already what Secretary Singson said, that we should include it in the... and have more details, the term value engineering. Plus
Sir,
it's...
VE, Your Honor, is really known to, to engineers. It's been introduced in practice, but yeah, we agree that there's just one paragraph under Annex A of the IRR.
Okay.
In-
Senator Smenya?
Just to volunteer this information, whether you believe Wikipedia or not, Wikipedia informs us that in the United States, value engineering is specifically spelled out in Public Law 104-106, which states each executive agency shall establish and maintain cost-effective value engineering procedures and processes. So, in fairness to the Secretary of Public Works, it is an established practice in engineering. Unfortunately, our laws are always kulang dito at kulang dun. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mejorada, anything else you wish to say?
Well, Your Honor, I would like to go back to the statement that the architectural services of W.V. Coscolwela was donated to TISA. As far as my understanding of the Government Procurement Act, Your Honor, is there is no such thing as donating our consultancy services for a government project. And, Your Honor, there seems to be a conflict between the statements of Secretary Jimenez and Senator Drilon, because it can be checked in the transcript, Your Honor. Secretary Jimenez said it was Megaworld who offered, but Senator Drilon said he and business leaders in Iloilo went to Mega World to ask for space. And going back to the line of questioning of Senator Osmeña and Senator Pimentel earlier, yes, the design of the lot for the convention center would, as it would appear now, based on the configuration, was really intended for a convention center. And the fact that it came, as admitted by Secretary Jimenez, that it came as a condition in the donation brings about a situation, Your Honor, where Mega World had its own plans to build a convention center, now finds an opportunity to ask government to fund the project, Your Honor.
Senator Drilon.
You know, this is the problem with Mr. Mejorada. He makes conclusions out of facts which are not even established. I am testifying under oath that I was the one who went to see Mr. Andutan together with a few prominent citizens in Iloilo. So what's the big problem with that? Where it will be located, we certainly had no control. We just had to ask for a space. But I was the one.
And as far as the services of Architect Coscolhuela, they were donated by...
That's correct. They were donated, and it was part of the deed. It was a requirement in the deed of donation that the conceptual design of the building should conform with the plans of Mega World. In fact, that was read earlier, and if I may read it again, it says, quote, to ensure consistency and compatibility with the overall design and development of the surrounding areas, the donee shall use the donor's proposed conceptual design of the Iloilo Convention Center. And under another portion of the donation, it says, in the event that the donee fails through its fault or negligence to discharge any or some of the undertakings in this deed, the donor, in its sole option, reserves the right to rescind the deed of donation. So it is a condition imposed by the donor. And it was up to government as a matter of policy whether or not to accept this donation, and in pursuit of the policy of national policy on tourism, it was accepted. Because that was the condition. And certainly the donor has the right to impose this condition.
Okay. Senator Pimentel.
Attorney Santiago, you heard the contention of Mr. Mejorada about a prohibited donation of consultancy services. Can you comment on that as applied to this particular case?
Your Honor, under the procurement law, RA 9184, and implementing rules and regulations, we procure the services of a consulting firm or an individual consultant, where we basically spend public funds to get the services. Now, in looking at our laws, we may want to look at it, harmoniously. Donation is covered by the Civil Code, and procurement is covered by RA 9184, a special law and a general law. Now, donation is a mode of ownership, and I think the state can be a donee. I mean, hindi ho talaga pinoprocure yun kasi binibigyan na nga ho sa atin. So, I think there's no violation of the procurement law, Your
Honor. Secretary Jimenez, the total donation is 17,000 plus square meters. Tama po ba yan? Tama pa?
Yes, Your Honor.
Estimate lang ba? 17,000 plus po, no? And then the
17,371
yes, sir.
square
And then
meters,
the
Your
footprint of the convention center is 6,000 plus.
Yes.
What do you intend to do with the 11,000 square meters po? Ano pong use nun?
Well, there is parking space,
Yung
Your Honor, and
lahat yun parking na po yun.
And easement space around the two hotels that straddle the property. I think, except for some minor facilities, given the stipulations under the deed of donation, we cannot put up something that isn't directly related to a convention facility.
Okay, so you mean to say the balance of 11,000 would be governed by the terms of the deed of donation?
Yes.
As to the use, no?
However, the open space around it is devoted to parking and service bays.
Right.
Kasi po, exhibition space yan to, ano, no, may malalaking pintuan yan sa likod so that we can hold exhibitions with major equipment that you can bring into the building.
Kaya ko po natanong nyo kasi baka may master plan din kayo over your property. So yun na yun. It's the ICC and that's it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chair. Yes.
Senator Smenya.
Just as a follow-up, Mr. Secretary, earlier I heard you mention about 2 hours ago when I was monitoring that the operation and maintenance of the convention center would be bidded out to the private sector.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I would assume that the deed of donation allows you to do that, or does it mandate that you do that?
It does not, the deed of donation does not mandate that.
So this is a decision on behalf of, made by government.
Yes, yes,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
Now, you also had a comment that the private sector manages things better than government.
I did not make that direct comment, Your
I
Honor,
w-
just
I
to
w-
clarify.
I heard you.
No, I said that we are going to bid it out to an operations and management because it is our determination that it would, in this particular case, it would be better managed by the private sector. I did not say that as a general.
As a general comment, because I was wondering if you would mention that to the DOTC, because the MRT3 is being terribly managed and has been for the last 4 years. So I cannot use that now with the DOTC secretary.
No, sir, I'm afraid you cannot.
It's unfortunate.
Senator
So that is
Pimentel.
limited only to the Iloilo Convention Center. You will not say that about the Cebu Convention Center or the Davao Convention Center.
I have said it, sir, today for the Iloilo Convention
Would you say
Center
that
specifically.
about Terminal 1 of the NAIA?
Maybe, Mr. Chairman, with your indulgence, the senator and I can have a conversation about it after.
In private, you
But
mean?
with your indulgence.
Aren't we transparent here, Mr. Secretary? After all, it affects every Filipino.
Yes.
But thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Senator Pimentel.
Does, Mr. Secretary, does the deed of donation mandate that you construct the additional 2 floors?
No, sir, it does not.
So no mention of the additional 2 floors?
No.
So how come the architect insisted on maintaining the specs for the roof deck?
Again, only because I have some knowledge of it as a layperson. Most competent architects always build in expansion space when they can.
Ito kasi, my worry is that if you do not build the 2 extra floors, then you will see Mr. Mejorada again. Because this time, he will now say that it is overpriced.
Well, just to clarify, Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, we have every intention of using every square meter of that building. An open roof deck is not useless because especially in the context of conferences and meetings, that open air area is an opportunity for activities and events. If you imagine the surrounding
I
area.
agree, sir, but siguro the usual specification for a roof deck would support people, above the roof deck, but you built it to carry 2 additional floors. That's the problem now.
I'm not an engineer, I'm
Yun na nga
sorry.
ang point ko. So, tumatango na si Mr. Mejorada, so, I mean, that just occurred to me, na if you don't build that additional 2 floors, then did you over design the building?
If I may, Your Honor, I would have approved the plan for a roof deck anyway. Ano ho yan? You can, there are open decks in all the major convention facilities. For example, the PICC has open decks also for outdoor activity. Kasama po yun eh. It was...
Oh, sir, but that's not the issue. This roof deck, the use of the roof deck is but the specification for the roof deck. But anyway, there are two sides to a coin. The other side is you are justified in the future to build 2 additional floors for the use of Iloilo. Tama po ba? Sige po.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Binay.
Last point na. Was there a contract or an agreement between you and Architect Colwela that you will be following their specification, or when they submitted the plan, did you sign, I accept this plan?
Your Honor, we repeat one more time. It is in the deed of donation.
Hindi lang para mas binding pa yung... Because dun ho sa deed of donation...
The deed of donation does not make it any more or less binding. It is the deed of donation.
Yeah, but in the deed of donation, it was not specified that it was Coscolwela who will design the project. Diba ho? I mean, midway, what if kunwari sabihin ni Mega World, siguro pasok natin si ibang design naman. You're also bound by that.
It was a condition of the donor, Your Honor.
Pero yun nga, for the record, wala ho kayong direct agreement with Coscolwela to follow their specification.
There was no need for that. The deed of donation stipulated that the donors plan.
So paano ho yung ano nyo? Because di ba nung nagkaroon ng value engineering, did you talk to Mega World or did you talk to Architect Coscolwela that you will be changing some specifications dun sa design?
The deed of donation is very clear, Your Honor. You know, the design as donated by the donor, in this case Mega World, would be followed. And there is, if I may, because this is very, very important, I think. It is fundamental to the rights of the owner of the general property that the structure that is built is in fact compatible both visually, aesthetically, and structurally with everything else he's building. He's not about to depreciate his own property by building something he cannot control. Yun lang naman po ang ano eh. And as the donee, we respected that and we saw that as an arrangement that worked very well for the government's purposes.
Hindi, di ba kasi si Architect Coscolwela submitted a plan and you're bound to follow that plan, tama po ba? And then during the bidding, masyadong mahal, walang nag-qualify. So ang ginawa ho ng DPWH, they did some changes. Tama po ba?
Value engineering.
Yung value engineering nga. And that, si Secretary Singson had to talk to you kung okay sa inyo yung changes. Technically ho, yung DOT should also talk to Mega World kung okay sa kanila yung changes. May ganong exchange ho ba na naganap?
Of course, Your Honor. Yes.
So you talk to Mega World and not Architect Coscolwela?
Well, to them both, but mostly to the architect, naturally, because they're the architects. Yeah.
And this was all done verbal, or was there written?
These are documented discussions, Your Honor, because these involve a lot of technical stuff. And you know, you as you said, you will meet them earlier, and you will find that the architect Coscolwela and WV Coscolwela are very up to speed technically. So we were very assured consulting them, yes.
So you had that consent for value engineering on the part of Mega World?
Yes.
Let me, Your Honors, let me just would like to emphasize that all the documents referring to the consultation with the architect were all submitted to the committee already.
Thank you. Siguro since we'll be inviting Mega World in the next hearing, baka they can submit to the committee the master plan for the whole area.
So noted, so ordered.
Mr. Chairman, I'm very much interested in this value engineering concept. So may we also invite C Squared so they can also tell us how they did it?
So ordered.
Together with Hilmarc, of course. And it's,
Okay, the hour is late, and I think the issues have been properly ventilated. We will have a next hearing, as I announced earlier, in the interest of transparency, to hear the allegations of Mr. Sihuko. So until further notice, these hearings are hereby suspended.